ESPN and ESPN2. Your home for America's pastime.
Here at Yankee Stadium, Derek Jeter and the world champions take on baseball's new Asian sensation, Ichiro Suzuki and the surprising Mariners. Seattle has a new star. His name, Ichiro. The Japanese native has brought a new face to baseball, and he has the strength to send the Mariners to the top. The Yankees and Paul O'Neill are determined to defend their crown. Big stars accustomed to the bright, hot spotlight. The Mariners and Yankees next on Wednesday Night Baseball. A cool, overcast evening at Yankee Stadium as tonight game 2 of a 3-game series, matching the ALCS participants of last fall. The Seattle Mariners taking on the New York Yankees. And welcome to the Bronx. Dave Barnett along with Rick Sutcliffe. 3.5 weeks ago when the season began, one could never have suspected that the team with the best record in baseball at 16-4 would not be the Yankees, but would be the Seattle Mariners, the team that over the last 3 years, Rick, has lost the likes of Randy Johnson, Ken Griffey Jr., A-Rod last offseason. Guy that's almost made him forget all 3 of those. Ichiro Suzuki has won the hearts of the great Northwest.
Well, don't let this kid fool you, because he is legit. He does not play like a rookie. I didn't think he was supposed to have any power. Well, he's already got 2 home runs. We knew he had speed. 3.7 seconds down the first base line. But what else he has people talking about is his arm. He is a weapon defensively out there in right field, a lot like Pudge Rodriguez is in Texas as a catcher.
Hitting well over 400 against right-handers. Tonight he goes against one of the best left-handers in baseball, Andy Pettitte, who on just about any other staff would be the ace.
Well, he is a #1, whether he's an ace or not. This guy has got his velocity back. That's what's so important. A lot of it has to do with the workout routine he has going with Roger Clemens. That makes his curveball so much more effective. But the strength of Andy Pettitte is his intelligence. He's always in the right place. He always seems to do just enough to help the Yankees win a ball game.
And we'll get to see the matchup in the very first inning. Andy Pettitte taking on the new sensation from Japan. A year ago this time with the Oryx Blue Wave. Will Ichiro join the lengths of Edgar Martinez and Bernie Williams in American superstardom? He takes another step tonight.
ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by Charbroil, Keepers of the Flame, and by Corona. Relax and enjoy a Corona. And by your local McDonald's. We'd love to see you smile.
Back again at the Yankee Stadium as Ichiro about to lead things off for the Seattle Mariners, who won the first game of this series last night, 7-5. Their 16th win in their first 20 games. They lead the AL West by 6.5, and Ichiro leads the lineup again tonight for the M's.
That has been a problem for the Mariners, the on-base percentage of their leadoff hitter, but not anymore. And you like to have somebody on base with this guy with the bat in his hand. Edgar Martinez last year led the American League in RBIs. He's off to a terrific start once again this year. Earlier in that Oakland A's series, in 4 games, Edgar was 9 for 11 with 8 base on balls.
Andy Pettitte is 3-1. ERA under 3. Last year, 3rd in the American League with 19 wins.
Well, in the last 5 years, there's only 2 guys with more wins than Andy Pettitte. There's a guy in Boston named Pedro Martinez, and what's that kid's name down in Atlanta, Greg Maddux? I'd say he's the #1.
Pettitte with the defense behind him, featuring the new left fielder Chuck Knobloch, who has gone every game so far in left field and out there again tonight, as Suzuki leads things off at 352. He had a 15-game hitting streak until it ended Saturday 0 for 4. But the 15 straight, easily a Mariner club rookie record. Second in the American League, 31 base hits. He's already had a 4-hit game. There is not much, in fact, that he has not already shown in just the 3.5 weeks of the season. And he's getting used to this. Upwards of 70 Japanese media cover his every move in Seattle, and getting used to They're traveling with them on the road and bringing out some of the Asian fans in the New York area in this series. Pettit works ahead of him 1 and 2. It's nothing he's not used to. In fact, it's a smaller level of scrutiny than he got in Japan. And to him, America is relaxing because he can actually, at this point anyway, go out with his wife and walk the streets and not worry about being accosted by autograph seekers. Pettit gets him on the check swing.
When the Mariners put the ball in play defensively behind Andy Pettit, a couple of question marks. Alfonso Soriano at second base. Chuck Knobloch, controversial play last night in left field. Ball hit off the bat of Tom Lankin. It would have been a terrific play. Manager Joe Torre said that Knobloch did a terrific job just getting there. It bounced off the heel of his glove. Actually should not have been ruled a home run, but it was.
Strike one to Mark McLemore. Batting second, he's the Mariner left fielder. Lou Piniella continues to mix and match a variety of outfielders. McLemore gets the start out in left tonight. Quickly behind 0-2 at 3:13 as this game begins. Andy Pettit owns McLemore. 167-4 for 24. McLemore versus Pettit in their matchups before tonight. And Pettit again on the 1-2 pitch, puts away McLemore as he did Suzuki. 2 quick strikeouts to begin the game.
Well, a big part of the reason the Seattle Mariners are off to a great start is because they're 13-0 against right-handed starting pitchers. That includes a game last night started by the Rocket Roger Clemens. Andy Pettit trying to set the tone right now as if to say, boys, get me 1 or 2 runs, we'll win tonight.
3 and 4 against left-handed starters. Edgar Martinez with the average just over 300. Once you get beyond John Olerud, the question that people continue to have and probably will have all year is, where is the power production coming from? This lineup that over the last 2 years has lost Griffey and A-Rod. John Olerud hitting terrifically so far in the 4-hole, and then beyond him, not a whole lot of production. Pettit getting a lot of check swings in the first inning. 2-1 to Edgar.
But everyone talked about last year with Andy Pettit winning 19 games, how much harder he was throwing than he was back in 1999.
He's added miles per hour, and he gives credit to Roger Clemens' off-season workout regimen, which is as challenging probably for that position as maybe what Jerry Rice has always done to set the standard for off-season wide receiver workouts. Really grueling. Worked well for Pettit. Called strike 3, strikes out the side of the first. John Halama ready to face the Yankees when we come back to the Bronx. Going after his 499th win as Yankee manager tonight, as his lineup set to go against John Halama.
Well, even Derek Jeter says that the one thing, the biggest thing Paul O'Neill has taught him is to never give an at-bat away. O'Neill constantly bearing down, all of a sudden hitting for more power than he has ever hit for in the first month of the season. New hitting instructor for the Yankees, Gary Denbo. They've been working on creating more of a downward swing with a little rotation to go backwards. The ball's carrying a little further for Paul.
29-year-old Halama getting to pitch in what amounts to a home game away from home for him. He was born in Brooklyn, still lives there. 14-game winner last year.
Really a tough competitor. He grew up in the crowded streets of Brooklyn playing bush ball, kind of a variation of baseball. He competes. He doesn't have overpowering stuff. He's got to stay down, and he has to keep people honest on the inner half of the plate occasionally.
Seattle has been very solid defensively, and the group behind Halama tonight.
Well, a guy that's very important for him is the guy at third base, that being David Bell. An off-speed pitcher with Alama, a lot of right-handed hitters in the lineup because he's a left-handed pitcher. There'll be a lot of hard-hit balls in that third base area, and that's why David Bell is there, because he's tremendous defensively. Not an error yet this year.
They've given up only one earned run all year. In 20 games, one unearned run. The top defense in the American League. And Chuck Knobloch leads things off. The everyday left fielder so far for Joe Torre, hitting near 300. His 21st consecutive start in left to begin the season. That's the longest streak by a Yankee left fielder at any point in any season in 10 years, since Roberto Kelly started 35 in a row in 91. Taking to it better than anyone, including Torre, could have expected when they finally gave up on Knobloch remembering how to make that throw from second base. And so Alfonso Soriano, the prize shortstop prospect, moving over to team with Jeter at second base, the middle infield combination.
Can you just imagine what it's been like for Chuck Knobloch the last couple of years, going to bed wondering if you'll ever learn to throw a baseball from second base to first base again? What a relief this has to be for him to be out there in left field with a lot of room to roam, his throwing not being a factor.
2-2, taking to it really well. Torre saying before the game that a lot of the moves, a lot of the throws that you have to make from left field are similar to throws you make, for instance, turning a double play at second base. He does not think it has been maybe as difficult to transition as many thought it might be. That one out of play, hit hard, and still 2-2.
And one thing he knows playing the outfield, as a former infielder, it's important to hit that cutoff man. So, you know, you're not going to throw that many people out from the outfield anyway. I mean, how many Ichirus are there with a cannon like that? So if he just gets to the ball quickly, which he's done, and he hits the cutoff man, he'll be fine.
He's hit 3 outfield assists, and that's tops in the American League so far. And the people who have challenged Knobloch's arm maybe will think second thoughts about it next time. Count runs full. In addition to the defensive compliments, he's also leading the league in steals, and a little poke to short center field will be run down by Mike Cameron. And Knobloch retired to begin the first for the Yankees.
Yeah, but even though he's retired, Dave, most of the time when he leads off a ball game or an inning, that's how you're going to get him. It's going to take 6 or 7 pitches, and that will work into the pitch count for a starting pitcher, and a lot of times get into the bullpen quicker.
Derek Jeter batting second at 3:06, but still looking for his first home run, and still looking, I think, to feel 100%. He really hasn't yet this year.
No, he's not. That right shoulder is still bothering him. It bothered him more being on a disabled list, though, is why he's just not saying anything about it. But he is less than 100%. I'd say probably closer to 50% as far as the strength is concerned in that shoulder. Because of that injury, he can't lift like he wants to maintain his strength. It's a difficult thing for the Yankee shortstop.
1 for his last 11. 1-1. And it's not just the shoulder. It was the quad pull, in fact, that put him on the DL to begin the season until April 7th, in fact.
Yeah, he told me before the game, though, the leg's at 100% now. I asked him about the shoulder, and he kind of gave me that smile that he does when he doesn't want to talk about it. But his teammates said that he's just not there yet, and it may be a while.
The smile said a lot, didn't it? Maybe more than he wanted it to. Roller up the middle. Follows Ian at short tonight for Seattle for the second out. And let's check into the studio with Bill Pito.
All right, Dave, thank you very much. Just like Andy Pettit, Pedro Martinez for Boston against Minnesota. Strikes out the side of the first. Down goes David Ortiz. Pedro coming in 2-0. The ERA 1.61. Sits at bottom one now for Boston.
You know what you mentioned? Since '95, winningest pitchers in baseball, no one would be surprised about Pedro. No one would be surprised about Maddox. Why are so many people surprised that Pettit is third on that list?
Well, one thing you got to mention along with that is the fact that He also last year received just over 7.5 runs per game. I mean, that was tops in the American League in run support.
Paul O'Neill sends the first pitch to left center. Has a streak going of 3 home runs in as many games. He has never homered in 4 consecutive games, but he starts tonight with a solid single.
Well, the boss here for the New York Yankees, George Steinbrenner, calls him a warrior. And what a luxury he has been for Joe Torre the last 5 years, averaging right at 150 games a year. I mean, you just write his name down in ink at the beginning of the season, put him in that 3rd spot, and he's going to drive in 100 runs for you.
He's got the first hit of the night with 2 outs and a board for the cleanup hitter, Bernie Williams. Number still not there for Bernie, who missed 10 games already this season to be with his ailing father back in Puerto Rico. Came back Friday, 2 for 10 since his return. One of those 2, a home run last night. Wilson having a hard time finding that ball in the dirt. No attempt to advance by O'Neill.
So important for pitchers to point out where the baseball is. All right, he doesn't know where it's at. He's got to look at the pitcher right away. That's the only friend you got. He looks up at him. Halama should have been running towards it, pointing at where that baseball was to help his catcher out. Awful lucky there that O'Neill did not get into scoring position.
O'Neill held by Olerud at first with the 2-out single in the first. 1-1 now to Bernie Williams. Has never had success against Halama in just really a year's worth of matchups. 0 for 9 for Williams. Down the right field line and slicing foul and 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, Bernie from that right side particularly likes the fastball, and Halama's just not going to give him many of them near the nitro zone. It's going to be a lot of off-speed stuff, and that's really a good approach for Bernie right there. Take that fastball to the opposite field so that when you do get the changeup, you're not so far out in front of it that you cannot keep it fair.
Williams last year, Yankee leader in homers and RBIs, career highs 30 and 9th with 121 driven in. O'Neill going. Wilson will not make a throw. And 38-year-old Paul O'Neill steals second.
He really set Halama up there. He didn't get a real big lead, and then he took off on his first movement. The count 1 and 2. Halama really focusing on the pitch. Look at him there. He never even knew Paul O'Neill was off and running. Dan Wilson just simply had to put it in his pocket, flip it back to the mound.
Got to respect O'Neill. That's 3 for 4 stealing this year. He is 38. Still looks to go. So scoring position with 2 outs. And now 3 and 2 to Williams. Very tough strikeout. Always consistent contact from either side. And now a 4-time All-Star. Defensively, 4 straight Gold Gloves in center field. Chance to give the Yankees a first-inning lead for Pettit. The 3-2. Call. Strike 3 on the inside corner, and the first strikeout of the night for Halama puts down the first-inning threat for New York. No score at Yankee Stadium.
And we're still scoreless. Brian Price, the pitching coach there, talking with John Halama and the catcher Dan Wilson about some things that happened in the last inning. Halama, even though he's 29 years of age, doesn't have the experience of the younger starting pitcher for the Yankees tonight, Andy Pettit. Should have pointed out where that wild pitch was. Also should have paid more attention to Paul O'Neill.
Cleanup hitter John Olerud leading off the Mariners second. Looks at the strike. Pettit will not turn 29 till June 15th. It's already his 7th major league season. Pencil him every year 26+ starts, 200 innings. Olerud, a slow roller. Dino Martinez to Pettit covering. Let's check in with Bill Pito.
All right, Dave, Minnesota's Brad Radke's trying to become the first 5-game winner in the majors, and he's off to some early trouble here. As Jose Offerman in the bottom of the first with a man on. His first home run of the year, over the wall and right, and barely gone. 2-run shot, 2-0 Sox, bottom one.
There it is, since '96. Winningest pitchers in baseball, Maddox and Pedro each with 92, only one more than Andy Pettit. You make a good point that he cannot match earned run averages with those two, but he hasn't had to. Run support so far this year has been 7 3/4 runs per game. The opponents are hitting .309 against Pettit. And yet his ERA, one of the best of his career so far, 2.97. Brett Boone, 1-1. Second baseman batting 5th at .320. With a home run and 17 driven in.
Boone with the return back to the American League and the Seattle Mariners. Back with Seattle in '92 and '93 was part of a trade to Cincinnati that included their catcher Dan Wilson tonight.
Boone back in Seattle, which originally drafted him in the 5th round in '90. They brought him up just 2 years later. The Cincinnati 2 years after that, the Bobby Ayala trade. Off the handle, but it'll drop in short left center in front of Bernie Williams, and Brett Boone has the first Mariner hit of the night.
Brett Boone was off to a terrific start last year for the San Diego Padres when he came up with a deep bone bruise in his right knee. It just did not give him enough power to push off, and he needed every bit of power he could push in there to elevate that broken bat base hit over the infield. But even so, Boone last year, I mean, still with 19 homers and 74 RBIs, just 126 starts, Dave.
Did a lot in a little bit of time, comparatively. So a 1-out single and 2 great pickoff moves tonight. Halama led the American League with 10 pickoffs last year, and Pettit not far behind him.
Well, Pettit's move might even be a little bit better. The problem is word has gotten out, and people just don't run on Andy Pettit as they once did.
Starts Cameron with a strike.
3 balks called last year on Andy Pettit. Part of that reason is the first base coaches, as we see there, John Moses, not only talking to Brett Boone, but talking to the first base umpire, Mark Hirschbeck, as well, saying, hey, you know, that's awful close. He crosses that line coming over. You've got to call a balk.
Out of play, 0-2. So you plant that seed as early as you can if you're John Moses.
That's their job. You know, I mean, the rule says you cannot deceive the runner. Well, how do you pick him off if you didn't fool him a little bit?
Isn't that kind of the idea?
Yeah.
Boone has only attempted 1 steal this year. It was successful. Posada behind the plate has only caught 2 of 11 on the season, just 18%.
Well, the key to any good move is just, particularly for a left-handed pitcher coming home, make your move to home look like that when you go to first for as long as you can. Your priority has to be on making a quality pitch to home, but you can make your delivery look like that. I mean, if I was a left-handed pitcher, I would spend hours in front of a mirror just getting it right, just working on it as much as you possibly can so that you can eliminate the running game, as Andy Pettit pretty much does on a nightly basis.
How much time did you spend as a right-handed pitcher on it?
I'm constantly looking behind me, as I do a lot of the time.
It is a cool night. About 20 degrees cooler than last night, unseasonably warm, but we start in the mid-50s and expected to drop. Chopped, fair, Brocious throws a little low for Soriano, who can't make the play, and Boone may have twisted something at second base. He is safe, but he is hurt. Cameron aboard on the fielder's choice. Boone tries to shake it off and stay in the game. It is an error on the throw at third by Brocious.
I was a little bit surprised with veteran Scott Brocious here. He knows with Cameron you're not going to get two. So take your time, set your feet, and make a quality throw to second to get the first one. Absolutely no chance to get Mike Cameron on this ball. Brocious takes one more little step, gets his feet set. It's a simple throw. He tried to hurry it a little bit, and that's a mistake that the Yankee third baseman normally does not make.
Is that a throw that an experienced second baseman handles?
I don't think so. I mean, that's one of those in the dirt that, you know, a guy like John Olerud at first base will come up with 90% of the time, but not many second basemen are going to make that play, particularly with the runner bearing down on him as Boone was.
So 2 on with 1 out for David Bell, the third baseman, who is one Mariner who has struggled coming out of the gate. 6 for 61, 197.
Well, if he showed up with his glove tonight, he was going to be in the lineup. You got a soft throwing pitcher on the mound. Lou Piniella puts people in the lineup for a lot more reasons than what they do offensively. I thought it was so important last year down the stretch when Seattle won 19 games in the month of September. What Piniella had done leading up to that point by using his bench and keeping his everyday players fresh.
Striving to do the same thing in the first month of the 2001 season, too. Finally, a strike. A few times Pettit works behind in the count, 2-1. Most of the time when Piniella is looking to get the extra men in, it's going to be in left field. Cameron pretty much a fixture in center, and obviously as many times as he can get Suzuki in the lineup, and now even against left-handed pitching, he's in right. Runners going, and Bell unable to put that one in play off the facing of the upper deck.
I think that's where it's so helpful to have a former manager, or a manager that was a former player. Lou Piniella knows what it's like to struggle offensively. So what does he do? He puts the runners in motion. Now you see everybody moving. You saw Soriano, the second baseman, give up his positioning to try to cover the bag. And David Bell had some openings out there to try to pick up a base hit. Both of these managers tonight realize what it's like to struggle as a player, and they can help you in those spots.
Not going this time, and it is ripped just foul.
You know, Piniella also knows that with David Bell, a lot of times when he struggles, he pulls off the baseball as he does here. He's just too quick right there. And you put the hit and run on, a hitter has to stay back because he's got to make contact. And that's what Piniella was trying to get out of David Bell.
Boone at second, Cameron at first. Only 1 out in the second. And again the 2-2, and this one is off the glove, but handled on the second try by Jeter. He gets it on the rebound for the second out.
Well, you have to be on a baseball field and see a ball hit this hard to know why it's such a difficult play. It looks like it's right at him. But when you hit a baseball that hard and it starts to knuckle, now you've got to elevate. Not only was Jeter getting up in the air, but starting pitcher Andy Pettit was jumping, and you can see Pettit's reaction when he saw Jeter come up with that ball. You also saw David Bell's reaction as he continues to struggle offensively.
Yeah, you did. And you saw the frustration of a guy not yet hitting 200, who just hit it about as hard as he possibly can. And through the glove, it looked like of Jeter, but Jeter, enough of an athlete to still make the play and frustrate Bell. Now 2 gone. And the number 8 hitter, Dan Wilson, at 256 with 3 RBIs beginning play tonight. The 1-0 is inside 2-0. Moments ago, Mariners trying to make something happen with the hit and run, which Bell fouls straight back. They're hoping with 1 swing they maybe take a 2-0 lead. Instead, runners still right where they were, and now 2 outs. And Wilson works a 3-0 count.
Pannell was really a nice situation as far as the catchers are concerned. Right-handed hitting Dan Wilson, hitting over 300 against left-handed pitching this year. He's got a left-handed catcher, Tom Lampkin, fought last night, hit a home run against the right-handed pitcher of the New York Yankees. The starter last night was Roger Clemens.
And it pours one over. Even with the number 9 hitter on deck, Guillen not wanting to load the bases with 2 outs.
You know, a real key for Pettit this year with his 3 wins has been the fact he has only walked 3 guys. Kind of surprising he falls behind the 7 and 8 hitter.
Throw has been incredible. 3 walks and now 32 innings. And he walks Wilson to load him up for Carlos Guillen. Only his 4th walk all year. Sending Cameron down to second, Boone to third. And 12.5 runners per 9 innings, less than 1 walk per 9 innings. So one way he has gotten by in his career, sometimes with higher earned run averages, he doesn't put anybody on base that doesn't earn their way there. Guillen at 175, way on top of that one. Carlos did have 2 of his 7 runs batted in last night on a 2-for-4 night. But just 11 of 63 for the year. Chance for maybe his biggest hit so far this year with the bases loaded. And a chance for Seattle to jump to an early lead on Andy Pettit. Working slowly with the bases loaded. Finds the outside corner. 1-2.
Always important to know the strike zone of the home plate umpire, and we're seeing a generous outside corner tonight here in the early going by the home plate umpire, Wally Bell.
27th pitch of the 2nd inning coming here for Pettit when Guillen is ready. Bell behind the plate, Mark Hirschbeck at first, Lance Barksdale at second, third base umpire Ron Culpa. Now ready at 1-2. Guillen not biting on the breaking ball.
Well, the reports on Jorge Posada, the Yankees catcher to begin with, were the fact he was going to be a big-time offensive player. Well, that's not good enough to win championship. You've got to play defense. And what a job he does right there on that breaking ball in the dirt, keeping this game scoreless.
Again, Pettit's 2-2. Bounced off the Seattle dugout.
And again, that 2-2 pitch was the same one as the one before. That good hard curveball, trying to expand the zone down. And to do that, you've got to have confidence in your catcher that he's going to keep the runners right where they're at.
Boone at third after a single, advanced on the air by Brocious. Cameron on the fielder's choice. Wilson on the walk with 2 outs. The third 2-2 pitch to Carlos Guillen. Bounced foul the other way.
You know, and just like pitchers have to know the strike zone of the home plate umpire, so do hitters. And that's what pitching coaches will do. There's a scouting report out now. There's a lot of new umpires in the league. And you've not only got to scout the opposing team, but you've got to know what the zone is of the home plate umpire. And believe me, that man right there, Mel Stoudemire, does know.
Again out of play. Guillen continues to hang. Guillen, who came over with John Halama and Freddie Garcia in the Randy Johnson trade at the '98 deadline. Mel Stoudemire helping.
Speaking of him, Andy Pettit has won at least 12 games in each of his last 6 seasons. Stoudemire won 12 or more 9 consecutive years for these Yankees back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yet another 2-2 is bounce foul. Keeps feeding Guillen the breaking ball, and Guillen keeps fouling it back.
Well,
just this inning, 31 pitches.
And David, all goes back to show you how important defense is. If Scott Brocious makes the play on the ball by Mike Cameron, Andy Pettit has been sitting down for the last 10 minutes. You can talk about the pitching, you can talk about the timely hitting of the Seattle Mariners, but it is their defense that has created this success.
They saved him 15, 20 pitches. This comes into play when he gets down the plate is the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. Another 2-2 to Guillen is low.
What an at-bat for Guillen. And what scares you about this guy? I know he's hitting 9th and he's hitting 175 right now, but he has enough pop to make it a 4-run game real quick. Andy Pettit knows that. I'm really surprised that he's going to go out of the windup here, because a base hit now could score 3 runs. Watch the runners take off here on this first move.
10th pitch of the at-bat to Guillen. The 3-2 is again bounce foul. Obviously, almost a Wade Boggs at bat, the way he stays alive.
Well, look at Cameron gone. You can also see that on first base, Dan Wilson, he was at second base when the pitch got to home plate. I mean, you'd like to have your pitcher go out of the stretch in this spot to keep him closer to home, but Pettit certainly has more confidence in the windup, and that's where he's going to stay.
Here we go again. The 11th pitch of the at-bat is through on the right side. A base hit scores Boone and Cameron. It gets away from O'Neill, and all 3 runs will score. Wilson is home. Guillen, who hung for 11 pitches, thrown by Pettit, chugs into second. An error on O'Neill in right. The 3rd and 4th RBIs of the series, and 8th and 9th of the year for Guillen.
Watch these runners going. You want to know why Paul O'Neill created the error? Well, he wasn't trying to throw out Mike Cameron at home plate. He was trying to keep Dan Wilson from scoring. Here he comes in on it. Ball just gets away from him. It's been a long inning, not only for Andy Pettit, but obviously the concentration of Paul O'Neill was not there.
So the top of the order, Ichiro looks at a breaking ball strike. All 3 runs unearned this inning, with the throwing error by Brocious, allowing Boone to slide in safe at second. And now the error in right by O'Neill, allowing Wilson to score. So again, Guillen credited for 2 RBIs. And Suzuki now behind 0-2.
Right along with the fact that the Mariners are not making any physical mistakes this year, they are taking advantage of every mistake and every break that they're given.
Two errors in the inning, and the only 2 hits have been singles. And yet 3 across for the Mariners. Now the 0-2 pop foul back over the Mariner dugout. So it's Halama who has staked to the early 3-0 lead. In the old days, Lou Piniella was used to maybe an early lead, but not used to having the type of staff that could protect it. Not the way his staff and bullpen, arguably the best in baseball, have been doing it this year. 5-game winning streak, 9 out of 10, 16 out of 20 on the year coming in. The 0-2 just inside on the Ichiro.
You go back to Lou Piniella's closer situation. I mean, it was Mike Timlin 3 or 4 years ago, and then all the problems with Jose Mesa. Well, what was once a major problem for Piniella has become one of his biggest strengths.
39th pitch of the 2nd inning is up the middle, and that's a base hit. And that's going to score Guillen with the 4th run of the inning. So with the 8 of the 2 errors, the Mariners get to Andy Pettit for a 4-run second.
Talking with Gerald Perry, the hitting instructor of the Seattle Mariners, when he's talking about Ichiro Suzuki, he talks about every at-bat off a pitcher, he has a better at-bat. You got to remember, he has never seen these guys before. That's the same breaking ball that fooled him in his first at-bat when he struck out. Well, it fooled him a little bit there, but not enough to get it by him. And Ichiro strong enough to get it past the infield and put another run on the board for Seattle.
See, he's going with 2 outs. And McLemore up. He's not, and it's ball 1.
This is the strength of Mark McLemore right here. He's one of those intangible guys that makes every team better just by being a part of it. He's going to take as many pitches as he can, giving Ichiro an opportunity to see the move of Andy Pettitte.
Chance to see it up close. So if you're going to get 100-plus pitches from Pettitte, he's used almost half that allotment this inning.
Not all his fault.
Well, almost none of it is his fault. It could have been a 10-12 pitch inning. Boone was going to be the second out. Would have doubled up Cameron. He had Bell on the line out. That would have been the third. Instead, that's followed by the Wilson walk, the Guillen single and error, and the Suzuki single. Struck out the side in the first. And about to throw his 55th pitch, 42nd of the second. Behind McLemore, 2-0. They'll finally get out of it. Pettitte does it himself, but the Mariners get 4 runs thanks to 2 Yankee errors. We go to the bottom of the second. Yankees trailing already 4-0.
Bill Pito back in the studio. Boston leads the American League East, taking on Minnesota. A.J. Brzezinski, the catcher, fair ball down the line. In comes Torrey Hunter. So Minnesota gets a run against Pedro. They're down 2-1. And now Craig Grayback, the little bloop. The ball is caught by Doug Mankiewicz. Jason Varitek trying to score, and he is out at the plate. It remains 2-1 Boston.
4-0 here, Bill, with all 4 scoring unearned on the 2 Yankee errors in the top of the second, and now Posada, Coleman, and Martinez in the Yankee half of the second.
I have seen Minnesota's first baseman, Doug Mankiewicz, on a highlight film on SportsCenter once a week since the season started.
One of those names like Suzuki that just wasn't on anybody's tongue until this year. So here's Posada to try and start the Yankees digging their way out of this 4-run hole. 290 hitters, 6 home runs. And how different does Halama's job look now?
Well, he should have learned from the mistakes that Andy Pettitte made when he fell behind the 7th and 8th hitter in the lineup, and it led to a big inning. He eventually walked the 8th hitter, Dan Wilson. Halama making the same mistake, falling behind here.
And Posada starts the second with a solid line drive single. One place you did not want to be between innings was anywhere near where Andy Pettitte was headed in the dugout.
Well, you didn't know if Pettitte was going to be the one tearing stuff up or whether it's going to be Paul O'Neill because of the ball that got away from him. But, you know, that's a frustrated Yankee team right now. They realize that they are not strong enough to let the Boston Red Sox run off and hide. I mean, they just barely got into the playoffs last year.
DH Michael Coleman sees his first action on the homestand. He didn't play the first 4 games, but starts tonight with David Justice getting the night off, which is a bit of a surprise considering Justice against Halama 4 for 9 lifetime with 2 homers here last August 7th. The only 2 home run game any player had against Halama last year, and he only gave up 2 other homers to left-handed hitters all season, to Ryan Plesko and Jason Giambi. But Justice resting, and they've got Posada picked off. Olarudla running down, and the tag applied by Guillen. What was supposed to start the rally turns into 1 out in the second.
We have already seen 3 mistakes by 3 veteran players here on the New York Yankees. I mean, he's not going. There's not a hit and run. There's nothing on. Posada just kind of caught napping down there, and John Halama taking advantage of it. And the error by Brocious, uncharacteristic of him. and then the ball getting by O'Neill.
Now 0-2 to Coleman. Well, it is characteristic of Halama, who, as we mentioned, led the American League with 10 pickoffs last year. But all the more reason you got to be extra careful, right?
You know that everybody in that Yankee lineup was warned about his pickoff move.
Is just inside.
Yeah, that's just hard to understand. Posada's been around long enough to know this guy's got a good pickoff move. I mean, a high school manager would be upset at his player for getting picked off there.
Just about where the single by Posada went. Not hit quite as hard by Coleman. But now a one-out single, and we check in again with Bill Pito.
All right, Dave, so far this year, Toronto a couple of games better than the Yankees in the standings, trailing Boston in the AL East. Brad Fulmer gets a hanging curveball from Kenny Rogers. Bombs away a 3-run shot. Fulmer's second of the year, 4-2 Toronto, top of the third.
Well, A-Rod's new team is the diametric opposite to his old team. The Rangers scored 7-8 a game and under 500. If they're not getting good pitching from Kenny Rogers this year, they are really in trouble.
Well, A-Rod also saw a lot of games last year played in under 3 hours, and he's not going to see many of those with that offense that team's got.
Let's get him about into the 7th inning on a normal night.
I remember talking with Mike Piazza, and Mike always playing in a big ballpark, Dodger Stadium, Shea Stadium. I said, wouldn't you like one year to play at Coors Field? And he said, no. He said, I do not want to be on a baseball field as long as those guys are.
Dino Martinez pops one.
Straight away center for Cameron to handle for the second out. Coleman back to first. Martinez continues to struggle. 3 for his last 30.
This ball club has really been built around pitching and defense. And not only the infield defense with Olerud and Gold Glover at first, but they are unbelievable in the outfield, particularly tonight with Mark McLemore in left field. All 3 of those guys have the range to play center field. And that just tells you how good Mike Cameron is in center, that he's the one Lou Piniella puts out there. I mean, not only do they cover all of the grass in fair territory, I mean, Cameron Spider-Man's into the stand.
Cameron says our infield this year is like the Great Wall of China. You can't get anything through it. Their infield has made only 2 errors in the first 20 games plus tonight of the season. 1-0 to Soriano. Short right coming on to make the catch is Suzuki. Yankees get 2 hits and waste them both here in the second and trail 4-0. The seats are filled before any activity starts on the field. You just pick out a spot and your mind goes back to all the history since 1923.
I can remember shagging in the outfield when they would play a lot of those videos on the history of Yankee Stadium and all the great Yankee players. And I mean, people were constantly getting hit in the back of the head because you weren't paying attention to batting practice. You were watching what was going on.
Remembering 26 world championships, including 4 in the last 5 years. Not been that level of play so far this year from the Yankees, who came in 3rd in the American League East, 11-9, 3 games off the pace, facing both Boston and Toronto. 2 to Edgar Martinez.
Even Ichiro, before yesterday's game, was saying how excited he was to finally get to see Yankee Stadium.
And especially in right field, where he knows Babe Ruth used to play. Babe Ruth, credited by many with popularizing baseball in Japan when he was barnstormed during the off seasons in the 30s. Retired number 3 out there belongs to him in Monument Park. And yesterday it was Suzuki's spot out on the right. Hit a long way to left, backing up, not blocked. It is off the base of the wall, and Martinez He'll check in with a double to lead off the Mariner third.
Ball was hit like a rocket. To begin with, it didn't look like Chuck Knobloch had a real good read on it. Take a look at the ball hit right here. Now, is he moving? No, he's not. He was actually kind of taking a step forward, trying to figure out where it was going to end up. And, you know, this is just part of the on-the-job training that Chuck Knobloch is going to have out there in left field. I mean, that, without a doubt, is the hardest ball to get a read on. But we could see there with the big screen, he just did not get a good jump on that ball.
John Olerud bounced out the first his first time up.
And it wouldn't surprise me if he bounced out to first again. The Seattle Mariner team just knows how to play the game of baseball right. He will try to advance the runner from second to third base with less than 2 outs.
Doing everything right so far tonight. Scoring 4 unearned runs in the second. And then getting a Halama pickoff after Posada had let off the bottom of the second with a single. The Yankees' hope would be the beginning of the comeback fizzled immediately.
You wondered if Andy Pettitte would have his best stuff tonight or not. Last Friday, he really picked up the Yankee staff when he threw a complete game the day after they had that 17-inning ball game up in Toronto. The bullpen was just decimated. They needed him to get deep into the game, and not only got deep into it, he completed it.
Well, again, that off-season Clemens workout maybe draws some credit here, adding up to 5 miles an hour to his fastball.
But he's just so much bigger and stronger now than he was earlier. But you can't think for a second you can just go into a weight room, lift a lot of weights, and you're going to start throwing harder. You might get stronger and be able to hit the ball a little further, but it's not going to help your velocity unless you know what you're doing. Nobody knows better about how to throw hard late in your career than the Rocket does.
Work in the cutter, still one of the better pitches in baseball. Inside on Olerud, 2-2. Not have to use it as much perhaps as he used to. And an improved changeup. So the overall arsenal of Pettitte in his first 4 starts, tonight being the 5th, all has been impressive.
Well, it's always been, to me, the key to his success being the command of that curveball for Andy Pettitte. Velocity is good, but his fastball for the most part is pretty straight. And he's going to get the strikeout that he needs in a situation like this one. There's normally that big, hard-breaking curveball that he does it with.
This crowd mostly sitting stunned through the Seattle second inning. When the pitch count went well over 40 for the inning and over 50 for the game. And just as you said, Olerud manages one way or the other to move the runner around to third. Edgar Martinez advancing on the ground out to first.
What a player John Olerud has been, and how fortunate the Seattle Mariners are that he just simply wanted to come back home. He left the New York Mets to come back to Seattle. Look at that ball club. Look at everybody coming up. Congratulate him for hitting a ground ball to the first baseman.
Not like the old ways with the Mariners. A new way of doing business. Brett Boone sends one to deep right. O'Neill started in, now back on the track, and up against the wall makes the catches. Martinez will trot home with the 5th run. O'Neill, who got part of the blame with his error in the second inning, now here's cheers.
Well, that error was surprising because last year, all year long, over 150 games for Paul O'Neill, only 2 errors. But this is the same kind of play on the ball that was hit to left field that Chuck Knobloch did not get a good read on. We can see there O'Neill's already off and running, times the jump perfectly, knows where the warning. As soon as his cleats hit that warning track, there's a different sound, a different feel. And Paul O'Neill knows how much further he has to go to time that jump as he did perfectly.
0-2 to Mike Cameron. So the RBI is the 18th of the year for Brett Boone, just one below the team leader Olerud.
He ought to give half of it to John Olerud, though. If he don't advance him, that's not an RBI, it's an out. But he does. And it seems like all of these Seattle Mariners get the job done. If they don't play for Piniella. I know it's an American League ball club, but they play a National League brand of baseball.
2-2 to Cameron.
Last year, Pinella's team was first or second in team statistic of stolen base attempts, sacrifice bunt attempts, and defensive substitutions. You don't hear those statistics a lot in this league.
A lot like he managed in Cincinnati. Cameron slow roller handled by Jeter for the third out, but the Mariners get another run on the double by Martinez. Olerud hits behind the runner, and Boone sacrifices him home. Bottom of the third, 5-0 Seattle jumping on New York early and often. Tomorrow, conference semifinal action. The Stanley Cup playoffs roll on ESPN, 7:30 Eastern. Pittsburgh at Buffalo. Pittsburgh over Washington in the first round, 4-2, led by Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr. Buffalo sends Dominik Hasek out to defend. Conference semifinals in the East tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern. Scott Brocious leading off the third against John Halama. Stake now to a 5-run lead. Brocious hitting well for the number 9 spot, 342. And that's down a bit. He's 5 for his last 29. Brocious had a hit in the first 14 games of the season, his career best streak, not just beginning a season, but at any point, and the longest by a Yankee beginning a season since their third base coach back in 1986. Willie Randolph had a 15-game season opening hitting streak. 2-2.
This ballpark really hurts Scott Brocious. Beautiful and historic as it is, I mean, it's a pitcher's ballpark. There's a big gap out there in left center field, dead center field, and Brocious just became too pull conscious trying to hit the ball out of the park down the line.
Fairly well to left center. Cameron racing back. It is over his head, and it is over the wall. Home run. Number 2 of the year for Brocious, and the Yankees are on the board.
Instructor Gary Denbo of the New York Yankees convinced Scott Brocious that he's a gap hitter. You've got to do your damage in the gap, left center, right center, and the home runs will happen. Well, it doesn't get much bigger than that in the left center field gap, and Brocious was just enough to clear it.
Top of the order, Knobloch looks at a strike. So Brocious seems to charge through Yankee Stadium, a crowd that has sat rather sullenly through the first 3 innings. Watching 4 unearned runs score in the second and another in the third.
Knobloch hits it hard and through the hole. His first base hit.
Mike Cameron came pretty close to robbing Brocious.
Well, what happened was Halama was pitching Brocious away, and Cameron had shifted over into right center field just before that pitch with 2 strikes. So he was fooled and had a long ways to go to get to left center. If he'd had a little more time, he might have caught the baseball and held on to his glove.
Which was more disappointing, that he didn't make the catch, or he came up without his weapon.
He just couldn't get there in time. If he could have gotten there a little bit quicker, he could have elevated a lot more than that and maybe made that play.
Derek Jeter grounded to short his first time up. So still at 300, 301 this appearance. Halama staked to the big lead, but he gives up a leadoff home run and a sharply hit single for the first 2 hitters in the Yankee third. Jeter has a home run in 11 appearances against Halama. One and one. Of course, what was characteristic of those 4 Yankee championship teams the last 5 years was patience. Patience by the at-bat, by the inning. As they rolled up the wins, gave them all the more reason. The same formula that became famous for going deep into the count, making teams go deep into their bullpen earlier than they wanted. They need patience tonight. Trailing 5-0 after 2.5, and now 5-1.
Well, just 87 wins last year for the Yankees. That's after winning 98 games the year before. I think a lot of that had to do with not having Chuck Knobloch in that lineup. Work the starting pitchers, get on base, create scoring opportunities.
Hit hard, but right at Guillen, who will start the double play. 6-4-3. And let's check in with Bill Pito.
All right, Dave, thank you. Cleveland rookie CC Sabathia trying to make it 3 wins in a row, but struggling here tonight against Anaheim. Benji Gill all the way to the wall. Ben Molina can cruise home, and Anaheim went out in front by the score of 3-0, and that's where we are right now, playing the top of the 4th.
So a tough job for a 20-year-old. Stick him into the rotation of a contender like Cleveland.
I got a
huge arm.
Yeah, I got an opportunity to see him pitch in that Futures game in Atlanta last year. Sabathia, what an arm he's got, command. What a good pitcher he's going to be.
Jeter hits it sharply, handled by Guillen, who gets Halama out of trouble in the 3rd, but they do get the leadoff home run by Brocious, his 2nd of the year, to make it 5-1. Into the 4th we go on a cool night at the Bronx. 5-1 Mariners. Dave Barnett and Rick Sutcliffe at Yankee Stadium. With Andy Pettitte throwing his 74th pitch. Strike 1 to David Bell.
David Bell's trying something a little bit different this year. He's using that leg kick a little bit more. Watch him pick that leg up.
Knobloch almost in his track. Hit it hard twice tonight. First one, Jeter had it bounce off his glove, but he recovered in time to make the catch, and this one right at Knobloch.
Well, it's supposed to be a timing mechanism for him. The leg kick is supposed to tell his hands when to start. As the leg comes up, the hands go back and get set, and the timing of David Bell's swing is supposed to improve because of that. I mentioned he's only hitting 190 coming into tonight's ball game, but Lou Piniella will be patient with that new approach and hope that it works later on.
Ball 1 to Dan Wilson. I feel like every hitter needs a timing mechanism. Not all lift the leg. Nothing always that obvious.
There always has to be a point in which you gather.
Slow chopper. Brocious to his left for out number 2. More baseball later on ESPN2 tonight. 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. It's the Reds visiting Pac-Bell Park. Osvaldo Fernandez, Kirk Reeder, the scheduled starters. Barry Bonds at number 503 last night. He's now 1 behind Eddie Murray. And Cincinnati set the record for most games between shutouts. 182 games now, breaking the previous National League mark of more than a century ago by the Philadelphia Phillies, 1893 to 95. They weren't shut out, but Cincinnati now owns the new mark. Carlos Guillen, the big hit in the 2nd inning, a 2-run single, advancing to 2nd on the errand right by O'Neill. This one to straightaway center, Williams, as Pettitte gets them in order in the 4th. Bernie leads off the Yankee 4th, trailing by 4. 4, 5, and 6 hitters due for the Yankees in the 4th inning, trailing 5-1. Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada, and Michael Coleman. Yankees have out-hit the Mariners 5-4, but the 2 errors fueling the 4 unearned runs in the 2nd continue to be the story for John Halama.
You know, the 1 run that the Yankees scored came on a Scott Brocious homer. That used to be the way the Seattle Mariner offense lived and died. I mean, back in the Griffey Jr. A-Rod days, about 48% of their runs scored via the home run. Now that number's down around 25%.
Bernie Williams had a career-high 30 home runs last year, only 2 so far this year, and the second was last night in a 7-5 Yankee loss. Alana starts him with the ball. John Halama last year started 6-0. Only other Mariner pitchers to start with 6 straight wins. Randy Johnson, 95. Honeycutt in 80. That is a fair ball. First hit of the night for Bernie Williams, and up to hold him to a single is McLemore. John Halama became a Mariner at the trading deadline 1998, along with Garcia and Guillen. Had cost him Randy Johnson, who went to Houston for the rest of that year. Ken Griffey Jr., the major trade to Cincinnati last year. A-Rod as a free agent this year. So they missed 3 Cy Young awards, 438 home runs, and about 120 RBIs over the last 3 years for A-Rod, and yet they're better than ever. 16-4, their best start ever, and since 1990, the only team to start 16-4 made it to the World Series. That was the '98 Padres. Tough to explain unless you look, for example, where some of that money went. That's no longer going to Junior or A-Rod or Randy Johnson.
Well, 3 of those guys will be back in Seattle this year.
The All-Star game. I wonder if they'd boo A-Rod for the American League All-Stars. Think so?
Oh, yeah. Particularly as you were telling me about the way they were on him during the Texas series there.
It was merciless last week. He was all too happy to beat a quick pass out. That is going to be fair by a couple of feet. Posada sends one into the corner and right, rattling around as Williams takes third and will hold there. Posada has a double. He's 2 for 2.
Finally, an everyday player. That's what Derek Jeter says was the key for Jorge Posada. The opportunity to relax and produce. And he did that last year, hitting 287, 28 home runs. And he has probably never run harder in his life than he did to get to second base here, because he didn't want to be standing on first again and possibly picked off by the move of John Halama that got him in his first at bat.
Yeah, that's no longer a worry for this inning, at least. And Michael Coleman, who singled his first time up, which hiked his average to 320. Coleman, the DH tonight. Justice getting the night off. He looks at a breaking ball strike. Coleman, originally 18th round pick in 1994 by the Red Sox, after he had been Tennessee High School Player of the Year in baseball and in football. He was a great running back. 1,600 yards as a senior. He turned down Alabama with a football scholarship to sign with the Sox. And has not spent much time at all at the major league level. Brett Tomko has been in the Seattle rotation much of the year, part of that Ken Griffey trade with Cincinnati. He gets loose in the Mariner bullpen. 2 in scoring position with nobody out in the 4th. 1 and 2. Coleman swings through.
John Halama knows the statistics. In 25 at bats this year, Michael Coleman has not walked yet. What does that tell you? If it's near the strike zone, he will expand it. That good changeup looked like it was on the outer half of the plate. Movement took it off the plate. You would think Halama would try to do something off the plate again here to pick up the first out.
Aims for the outside corner, a little too far outside.
Wilson's going to go out and talk to Halama right now. And I would imagine it's to ask him, how do you feel about that breaking ball? Wilson's as good as there is in baseball at blocking off-speed pitches in the dirt. That's so important on the Seattle Mariners staff. When you think about Jamie Moyer and Halama, you think about their closer Sasaki and that split-finger fastball of his, which is most effective when it's down. Wilson's so good at smothering that ball. Alama feels like he can get it near the zone or down. That's what we'll see.
Williams at third after a single. Posada doubled him over there. And now the 2-2 is just foul to keep alive for Coleman. Michael Coleman, briefly property of the Reds from Boston with Donnie Sadler and Chris Dimes, and then came over March 21st from Cincinnati to New York in the trade that cost Michigan their Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback Drew Henson back to the Yankee organization, along with Willie Pena and some cash. Big opportunity for Coleman here to contribute in his early days as a Yankee.
Well, he made a nice adjustment to get a piece of that last changeup. That means he's staying back better. Well, if you're staying back, that fastball in is very difficult to get to.
Lama again misses outside. The count runs full.
I think that might be why Lou Piniella has activity in the bullpen this early in the game. Fourth inning, just one run scored, but he's not seeing the command of the fastball from Alama, and he has not seen that good curveball. He's trying to get him with the changeup. Seems to be the only thing he has confidence in.
Yankees can get right back in the game here. The 3-2 skied to left. McLemore has it for the first out. Williams is coming, and the throw is late, and it's 5-2. Coleman gets his 6th run batted in on the sac fly.
And John Alama is real lucky that it is just one run that's driven in by Michael Coleman. That was a hanging changeup up in the zone. Stayed back on it well enough to drive in one run. If he throws a breaking ball down in the dirt, he might have gotten some help. But you could see it was the changeup just off the plate again. Coleman continued to get closer and closer to hitting that ball hard. And McLemore just perfect fundamentals right there. Look at Bell there in the cutoff position in case the runner at second tried to get to third. Look at where the throw was in perfect cutoff position. And if this were not natural grass that held up that throw, if this would have been AstroTurf, that ball might have skipped and possibly gotten Bernie Williams at home plate.
So Coleman brings him home to make it 5-2, and Halama down 3 in the third inning. 7 hits. Only 1 strikeout. That was to end the first. Bernie Williams looking 51 pitches.
Well, the Yankees are just disregarding that curveball, and that's probably why the pitching coach Brian Price went out there to remind Halama, you've got to change planes with that breaking ball. It cannot just be fastball changeup with this good Yankee lineup.
Brian Price has had his say, and now struggling Tino Martinez. Fly to center in the second. Now 3 for his last 30. Last year at 258, dropped off to 16 home runs in his worst season since 1994. Before that, 5 straight years, at least 28 homers and 105 RBIs.
His offensive production way down, particularly when you think about that of first baseman in baseball today. But Joe Torre will tell you, Brian Cashman, the general manager, will tell you, they would not have won that World Series last year without Tino Martinez. What a presence he is in that clubhouse.
Low chopper, Olerud will shovel to Halama covering for the second out, and Posada advances to third.
Give their young pitching coach Brian Price some credit for this out right here. Look at the pitch. What is it? A big sweeping breaking ball. Tino Martinez way out in front of it. And that reminder from the pitching coach just what Halama possibly needed to get through this inning. Speaking of guys you don't have to throw a pitch in the strike zone to.
That would be Mr. Soriano's cue.
Don Zimmer tells me that Alfonso Soriano reminds him a lot of a young Sean Dunston. Aggressive, no fear, likes to swing.
87 at-bats. Still looking for his first walk this year.
Joe Torre said they walked him the other day, though, but it was on ball 4. But Soriano swung at it and hit it for a base hit.
Won't take a walk. 1-1.
Where they like the upside of his potential.
Oh, he's all you heard about when they talked about their farm system last couple of years. Wait till you see the shortstop we have coming up. And then the question was, well, what about Jeter in the prime of his career, still in his mid-20s? Will Soriano ever get a chance to play shortstop as a Yankee? As it turned out, Knobloch's troubles allowed the opening for Soriano to take over at second.
Also, Soriano's bat this spring opened up a position for him. Best offensive player Joe Torre had. And Joe Torre and Don Zimmer both said before tonight's game, watch what this kid does the second half of the year. He will adjust and he will improve.
Yeah, in the spring, he had more hits than anybody else in the majors. 32 and hit 348. Led the Yankees with 5 home runs. They continue to feed him experience. He has played every inning of every game so far. The only rookie in the league who can still say that. 23 years of age. Trying to bring Posada home from third with 2 outs in the 4th and a run already home. Soriano from the baseball factory, San Pedro de Macorís, Dominican Republic. How many major league infielders especially have come through that city? 2-2.
Poor Wilson's so good. That changeup down in the dirt. I mean, it has absolutely no chance. Look at the perfect form there. The glove on the ground, the whole body in front of it, and the chest leaning towards the ground so that when it comes up off the chest protector, it simply drops to the ground. It doesn't come up and spray off one direction or the other.
Well, swung at what would have been ball 3. Soriano 0 for 2, but the Yankees get another run off Palama, and Ichiro leads off the 5th. Ready to lead off the 5th in what is rapidly becoming the year of the Japanese player in the major league. He's a big part of it. But also, you can look at the no-hitter by Hideo Nomo, who led this wave back in '95 with the Dodgers. Sasaki leads the majors, 10 saves. Ichiro's had a tremendous start. Then you got Shinjo across town here with the Mets. And it's a trend that is simply impossible to ignore. It used to be just pitchers. And now this guy has opened up a whole new line of possibilities for Japanese position players. Although I don't know if they'll ever find another one as good as he is. 7-time batting champion. 387 last year. This one on the ground, backhanded by Jeter. Suzuki now 1 for 3. But every ground out must be treated carefully if you're Jeter or any other infielder because of his speed going home to first.
Well, think about this. This ball bounces twice to the shortstop. Okay? And look at how close it was. That just puts so much more pressure on the infielder. They know they have to field it cleanly. They know they have to get off a good, strong throw. And they also have to play shallow.
3.7 seconds home to first. What the time Suzuki in this year.
I saw his first at bat in the first game of spring training this year, and he was 3.8 in that at bat.
High hop for Brocious. 2 gone. Now the other Japanese players, other than Suzuki, got Sasaki making a major statement. The huge Rookie of the Year season last year. The Nomo with the no-hitter. Shinjo so far hitting .263. And then you go to the Angels. Shigetoshi Hasegawa has been a major leaguer for a few years now. Montreal has a couple. Yoshi and Irabu. Can you name the other active major leaguer born in Japan? How about if I show you the cheat sheet?
I was going to say, you're not looking at me for that.
Would that help? Would you have guessed Dave Roberts of Cleveland?
I would not.
Born to a military family in Japan.
You know, it's just all about adapting. And they say that, you know, Sasaki really helped Ichiro make the decision to come over here and play for the manager. Sasaki adapted so well. He's such an easygoing guy. You know, he's always smiling, and you know, some people just don't adjust. You talked about all of the shortstops and the athletes from the Dominican Republic, San Pedro de Macorís. Well, you know, there's a lot of athletes over there that just couldn't make the adjustment to the American way. They missed the Dominican Republic. I had the pleasure of playing winter ball over there a couple of years, and it was a tough adjustment for me to make, getting used to all that went on there, the eating habits, the traveling habits.
On the corner, 3-2 to Martinez. Not sure if Edgar would call that strike, too.
Well, he says, I'm Edgar Martinez. You know, now that guy on the mound's got a pretty good reputation as well. And that's what Edgar Martinez reminds me so much of Tony Gwynn. And that if you just show him what the zone is, he can adjust. They can handle more pitches than probably anybody else in the game of baseball. And it's all because of the positioning and the lack of head movement that they have at home plate.
Again, the 3-2, no question about that one. A 2-out walk in the 5th. And let's check into the studio with Bill Pito.
Dave, thank you. Andres Galarraga having an easy adjustment so far in the American League. Against Toronto, a bomb. His 5th home run of the year, 2-run shot. Texas now in front of the Jays, 5-4. In the meantime, Cal Ripken hitting just a $154 as he enters play tonight against the Tigers. And there that one goes. 2 runners aboard, 3-run shot for Ripken, first of the year. 5-0 Baltimore.
2 outs here for John Olerud. Right after the first pitch hit well, Knobloch circling back, turns the other way and makes the catch. A rather adventurous one on the track for out number 3. Still a learning process out there, and Knobloch bats second of the Yankee fifth. Knobloch, the on-deck circle, hit second this inning. He made the 3rd out look almost dangerous.
Well, the thing about it, as opposed to the last ball that Edgar hit to him, he did get a good jump on that one, but he kind of overran it a little bit. And it's going to be a learning experience out there for Knobloch. There's going to have to be a lot of patience on the part of the New York Yankees, and that's a good sign right there. I mean, Knobloch was a little concerned, and yet there's the starting pitcher waiting on you to say, hey, nice play, man. That's a tough ball to catch.
Knobloch's son of a coach, Father Ray, longtime coach at his alma mater, Bel Air High School in Houston. Battling hard late in his career to learn a new position. Strike one to Scott Brocious leading off the 5th. Joe Torre saying before the game, though, that he's seen nothing from Knobloch and left to indicate that he can't just keep him out there day in, day out rest of the year.
Well, it's not so much keeping him out there as it is keeping David Justice in the DH position and keeping Knobloch's bat in the lineup. Last year was the first year since the strike year, 1994, that Knobloch has not scored 100 runs for his team.
0-2 ahead of Brocious, who homered his first time up in 3rd. Leading off that inning with the first Yankee run.
This hole at bat, though, was set up by Halama getting that first pitch curveball over for a strike. A couple of fastballs in, normally followed by a changeup. His last at bat. And Wilson sitting on the outer half of the plate. Ball too close to the center of the plate. Brocious made him pay for it.
Cross camera in his glove. Lost it over the wall on that leap. Now the 2-2. Isn't that a high strike? Aren't they supposed to call that pitch this year?
I haven't seen any signs at all of it here. We saw a lot of it in spring training. There was an emphasis on it, but there just have not been that many high strikes called. It's not changing.
So the fact that he got ball 3 on that ball just above the belt
leads to ball 4 and a call to the Mariner bullpen. Well, the strike zone might not have changed a whole lot, but Seattle Mariners may change pitchers pretty quick. You just simply cannot do that. You got the number 9 guy 0-2, and then you give him a free pass to first base. Well, Lou Piniella doesn't really like pitchers a whole lot anyway, and that's one of the reasons there.
Fourth straight inning, Halama allows the Yankee leadoff man to reach. It's his first walk issued, and just the 6th walk of the season in his 5th start. So now against the top of the order, Knobloch, 1 for 2, the single in the 3rd. A bat that started in promising fashion for Halama against Brocious. With the average over 300, 301 this trip. Quickly ahead of Halama. 2-0, and Wilson out for a conference. Soon to be joined for the 3rd time tonight by the pitching coach Price. Norm Charlton quickly getting loose.
Charlton with a lot of pitches last night for the Seattle Mariners, but that just tells you how deep that bullpen is down there for Lou Piniella. He knows that he needs to get 6 more outs. More than likely, it's going to be a win. Mariners are 12-1 this year when they hold the lead after 6 innings. Piniella right now just trying to figure out a way to get to that 6th inning. That bullpen's so strong for Seattle. You got Sasaki for the 9th inning. You got Rhodes, Paniagua, and Nelson for the 7th and 8th. I don't think there's a better pen in baseball.
Well, with a starter ahead 5-2 in the 5th, still needing the inning for the win, have to be pretty extraordinary to make that move, and yet gotta figure Piniella would be willing to do so. And now falling 3-0 behind Knobloch.
He's begging now. He's hoping that Brocious will make a mistake and give him an out. I mean, it's 3-0. You're not going to go anywhere.
Brocious hadn't gone anywhere all year. Has not attempted to steal.
They're going to take 1 pitch, probably 2.
Well, they had to take 1. Back-to-back walks to lead off the 5th, and we send it to Bill Pito.
Dave, thank you very much. As we go to Fenway for the Twins and the Red Sox, it was 2-1 Boston in the 5th, but Luis Rivas, base hit up the middle, drove in the tying run, tying the game at 2, and it's still tied at 2, now playing the 6th. Meantime, Astros and the Braves, Andrew Jones here, 2-run bomb, his 5th of the year, comes in the 3rd, and Atlanta has the early lead over Houston, 4-0, bottom 3.
Well, how disappointing does this early exit have to be for Halama? 1 inning shy of qualifying for a win. He gives way with 2 on and nobody out to Charlton. Is on for his 7th appearance of the year after a sudden and surprising exit by the starter John Halama. The only 2 walks he issued all night were the last 2, leading off the 5th, and he gives way to Charlton, who struck out the side last night while giving up a hit and a walk in his only inning.
Charlton was outstanding last night in that Seattle Mariner win. And the reason he's brought in now, not so much that Piniella feels like he can get Derek Jeter out, but after that, you got the left-handed hitting Paul O'Neill, switch hitting Bernie Williams, who's struggling more from the right side of the plate this year than he is the left, and then another left-hander. Posada after that, a switch hitter.
First pitch to Jeter, belted to left, a base hit, and they will hold Brocious at 3rd, so they're loaded with nobody out. And it looked like Jeter knew exactly what to expect from Charlton.
You know that when Piniella handed the ball to Norm Charlton, he said, throw strikes. Don't make the same mistakes that Halama did. The strike on the inner half of the plate, even though it's the first hit of the night for Derek Jeter. It's the 3rd time he's hit the ball hard. And with nobody out, third base coach Willie Randolph not going to take a chance on scoring Brocious.
One time Halama led 5-0. It is now 5-2 with Paul O'Neill stepping in. 1 for 2 as the go-ahead Yankee run here in the 5th. And he goes after the first pitch. Home plate umpire Wally Bell having to regroup.
Yeah, a good hard fastball, a good hard swing. Pow!
He'll shake it off. O'Neill just 3 of 16 in his career against Norm Charlton. Charlton in his 3rd stint with the Mariners. Unretired to come back this year. The 0-1 hit hard and just foul.
This is a tough at bat for umpires. The last pitch we saw Wally Bell get his bell rung. And there Mark Hirschbach had to hit the dirt. Hard hit ball off the bat of Paul O'Neill down the line. Hirschbach with the presence of mind though to not only get out of the way but turn his head back and make the correct call.
Rochus at 3rd, Knobloch 2nd, Jeter 1st. 2 walks and a single to begin the 5th inning. Alama gone. Now the 0-2 from Charlton. High and tight.
Boy, I saw O'Neill diving to the outside part of the plate. He's looking for that splitter or breaking ball from Charlton. I'm really surprised, being the warrior Paul O'Neill is, he didn't just leave that right elbow in there. Take one for the team, pick up a run, and get this at bat over with, because he's in a big hole right now with a count 1 and 2.
A big first out.
That is why at the last second Lou Piniella brought in Norm Charlton. He knew what he could do to Paul O'Neill. There's a fastball inner half for strike 1. Here comes the off-speed pitch. He's out in front again. Little showpiece on the inner half. Now see you with that good splitter down and in. That's what Piniella wanted right there. That's why he had Tomko sit down and get Charlton up. He knew the numbers that we saw with Charlton and O'Neill. He also knows that Bernie Williams is just 154 for an average career-wise against Charlton.
2 for 13 for Bernie Williams. Up and down night for O'Neill. Costly error in the 4-run Mariners 2nd. Got a base hit, the stolen base. Bases loaded, strikeout here in the 5th. Mariners can get out of it scoreless. They turn 2. In the air and slicing foul, 1-1.
You know, Derek Jeter was telling me before the game, he always thought spring training was too long until he got hurt. And now his timing is just not there. Well, with Bernie Williams being gone and not seeing major league pitching for the last 2 weeks, I mean, he's basically in the last week of spring training himself. Clearly ball 2, but Bernie just has not seen enough big league pitching to lay off that.
There's 10 games to be with his father back in Puerto Rico while he was ill. Ball, strike 2.
Speaking of the nasty boys, how about that nasty backdoor breaking ball from Norm Charlton? Lou Piniella knows a lot about Norm Charlton. He knew a lot about Paul O'Neill as well. Both of those guys played for him in Cincinnati in 1990.
Williams checking. 2-2.
Also, backup catcher for the Yankees, Joe Oliver, over there on the bench, part of that World Championship team for Piniella.
And Charlton appeared to be done. 2 games with Cincinnati last year, 3 innings, gave up 9 earned runs and walked 6. They released him last April. Tampa Bay gave him a look. They released him in March. He retired and then unretired to try and make the Mariners as a minor league free agent, and lo and behold, he did out of the spring with his 3rd different tour with Seattle. The 93 and again 95 through 97.
The 2-2 to Williams. Another nice stop of a low pitch by Dan Wilson as Williams runs the count full.
He put himself in a hole now. He wanted to make something happen on that 2-2 pitch. He could not. And now the decision for Charlton, do you challenge a good fastball hitter with a fastball, knowing you got to throw a strike 3-2, or do you have confidence you can get that off speed in the strike zone?
To the right field gap and caught on a slide by Suzuki for the second out. Brocious will tag and score and make it 5-3. But Suzuki, playing a terrific right field his first month in the American Major Leagues, gets to it. A good read off the bat and prevents further damage.
This is a rocket hit into right center. Look at he come flying in there. Let's not forget that was in slow motion. Look how slow Cameron looked, but look how quick Ichiro gets to that ball. Very difficult play, and the presence of mind to know I cannot get Brocious at home plate. I've got to keep Knobloch from getting to third, and he does exactly that.
So from bases loaded, nobody out. 2 on 2 out and 1 run in for Posada. 2 for 2 with a single in the second, a double in the fourth. Charlton starts him low and in.
You mentioned that Charlton struck out the side last night in his relief appearances, but he also gave up a base hit and a walk. He threw a lot of pitches. I wouldn't imagine Lou Piniella going to leave him out there much longer than this hitter right here, Jorge Posada.
Ball's behind him, 2-0. Posada, unlike O'Neill and Williams, has some success in just 3 career at-bats against Charlton. He is 2 for 3. Williams, 2 of 13. O'Neill now 3 of 17. Hit hard and fair into the corner. Knobloch coming home. Jeter makes the turn. He will score as well. And the Yankees have tied it in the 5th.
Last year, Jorge Posada, an all-star for the first time in his career. He'll probably be an all-star again. Joe Torre selected that team. He will select the American League All-Star team again this year. And Posada is closely getting himself up into the category offensively of Pudge Rodriguez. What a big clutch 2-out hit for the Yankee catcher.
Jorge Posada now 3 for 3, 2 doubles, and his 17th and 18th runs batted in of the season. Ball 1 to Michael Coleman, who scored Williams with the Yankees' second run on the sac fly to left in the 4th. Ryan Franklin now up in the Seattle bullpen. Well, does anything good ever happen from a leadoff walk to the number 9 hitter, which is how John Halama began this Yankee 5th. And then followed it with a 4-pitch walk to Chuck Knobloch. He was gone. Charlton came on for Halama, gave up the single to Jeter to load the bases, struck out O'Neill. And Bernie Williams with the sac fly to right. And the big blow of the night so far for New York, the 2-run double by Posada. So from 5-0 down, they have tied it in the 5th. 2-1 to Coleman.
They have knocked on the door every inning. The only time John Halama retired the leadoff hitter tonight was in the 1st inning. Finally, the Yankees able to break through.
Two. Yankee bullpen has been right at the top of the American League. They lead the league in strikeouts, 63. 12 saves in their first 20 games. Opponents hitting just 172 against the Mariner bullpen. Collective ERA of 2.53. It looked like Charlton
They get out of the inning, only 1 run allowed until the double that Posada hooked just fair into the left field corner. But you put this inning on Halama, starting it with 2 walks with a 5-2 lead.
Halama last year, even though he was a 14-game winner, he led the major leagues with 23 non-quality starts. There's another one tonight for the left-hander for the Mariners.
Is there anything more disgusting for a starting pitcher to be 1 inning short of qualifying for the win with that kind of a lead?
Maybe 1 out.
Yeah, and not in there to see all this damage. That's a call. Strike 3 on Coleman. So Charlton strikes out 2, but the Mariners give up 3 to tie it through 5.
ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by Holiday Inn, who gives you more, and more is better. And by the new generation in digital communications, WorldCom, Generation D.
Another great view of Yankee Stadium brought to you by Monster.com's East Coast Blimp Trump. Monster.com, job good, life good. Good right now for Andy Pettit. He starts over. Trail 5-0 after 2.5 innings. And his offense is scratched back with a run of the 3rd, run of the 4th, and 3 in the 5th to tie it. While Pettit has settled down, retiring 9 of the last 10, allowing only a 2-out walk last inning to Edgar Martinez. Brett Boone leading off the 6th for Seattle. Singled in their 4-run second to get everything ignited. Drove in a run with a sacrifice fly in the 3rd. Pettit had thrown 73 pitches just to get through the 3rd inning, and then got through the 4th in just 6 pitches. Chopper Brocious with a nice scoop, ranging far to his left, but his throw ends up at about the 20th row. Brocious keyed the 4-run second with a throwing error, and he's got his 2nd of the night.
Sir, is a little bit different, though, than the last one. On the last one, he hurried a throw that he did not need to hurry. He had to get rid of this one as quick as he possibly could. Look at how far he went. Derek Jeter right there saying, thank you for getting to that ball and saving me an off-balance throw. But when a ball comes up and hits him in the chest, right there it gets away from him. He loses it. Now he does not have a grip. He can't find a seam to control the throw. It gets away from him. It gets away from Chino. And Boone goes on down to 2nd.
And for Brocious, his 4th error in the last 3 games. A single for Boone. And advances to 2nd on the air. 3rd Yankee error tonight. Good start for them, trying to regain the lead. Mike Cameron 0 for 2, scored the 2nd there in a run back in the 2nd.
And this situation is different than the last one, Dave. We talked about with a man on 2nd and Olerud up there. He pulled the ball because he knew Brett Boone is an RBI guy. Boone was 70-some RBIs last year. Wouldn't surprise me if Lou Piniella, a former hitter himself, just turns Mike Cameron loose. Instead of saying advance the runner to 3rd, Piniella might say, you try to drive him in. Those sac flies aren't automatic. And you look behind him, David Bell in the on-deck circle, not really known as an RBI guy. So what are your chances right here? Do you want 3 guys swinging for a base hit to try to score a run? Or do you want 1 guy sacrificing the man to 3rd in hopes that the next guy can get something out of the infield? I think Piniella's going to turn Cameron loose.
19 home runs last year, 2 so far this year for Cameron.
Gerald Perry has been such an influence, hitting instructor for the Mariners, to young Mike Cameron. Perry, a former great pinch hitter. In fact, he's still the record holder for the Cardinals with 70 pinch hits. He knows what it's like to have a game plan every at-bat. Cameron, a guy 2 years ago that took 58 called 3rd strikes. Now, that's a lack of concentration when that happens. Gerald Perry constantly talks to him every inning about what to look for in the next at bat and what to try to do.
Should get one to wail on here at 3-2, and let strike 2 go at the waist.
Outer half at the waist. Pettit's not going to give in to him. Pettit saw it last night. Mike Cameron take a 3-1 fastball in the inner half from Roger Clemens and hit it out to left center. He's showing a lot of respect for the Mariners center fielder, but he also knows the bottom part of the lineup is due up after Cameron.
Right side for Soriano, and he advances the runner with the first out in the 6th, moving along to third.
Knowing what the home plate umpire's strike zone is. Generous on the outer half of the plate. You've got to protect that pitch. Maybe a generous call on the 3-1 pitch. Cameron adjusting, putting the bat on the ball, advancing the runner, doing exactly what John Olerud did back in the 3rd inning, which led to the 5th run, keeps this game tied for Seattle.
David Bell's hit it hard twice. Robbed by Jeter in the 2nd as the Yankee infield comes in with 1 out and Boone on 3rd. And then led off the 4th by hitting it hard to Knobloch in left.
Anytime you see the infield defense come in like that, the manager is telling the pitcher, I'm trying to help you. Now you try to help me and throw something down in the strike zone so that they keep it on the ground.
Well, that may have beheaded somebody. Bell's hit it hard every at bat, and that's about as hard as anybody's hit it tonight.
Oh, the thing's so scary. Particularly a lot of these new ballparks, they're building everything so close to the field. People down the 3rd base line and 1st base line, they're not much further away than the 1st baseman or 3rd baseman, yet they don't have gloves.
3rd pitch for Pettit. Last 5 years, he's averaged 105 pitches per start. But throwing so many to get through the 2nd is what's costing him tonight. That is
that's not
the
far
zone
away.
of terror.
Far at all away from home plate.
I don't see any gloves out there either. Ought to be now. Bounces in. Posada keeps it in front of him, and it's 3-1.
You might have thought last year Joe Torre was just taking care of his own catcher, selecting Posada for his first All-Star game, but that might be the first of many. What a great job this is. That ball bounces in front of home plate. Yet Posada had the angle. That's so important to have that tilt with your upper body so that the ball goes down on the ground rather than up and off in one direction or the other. Torre, being a former Gold Glove catcher, knows that.
3-1. Aimed for the outside corner and just missed it, said Wally Bell. Bell is aboard for the first time. Mariners on the corners with 1 out. And Mel Stottlemyre out for the first time.
I think he's just going to give Pettit a breather right here. There's not any activity in the Yankee bullpen as far as making a move. Torre's going to stick with Pettit. I mean, this guy won 19 games for you last year. He's won a lot of postseason games for you. He's the guy you want out there in this spot. Now, what Stottlemyre will talk to him about is, look, we want the ground ball. We're trying to get the double play. But there's always the possibility of a squeeze with Lou Piniella, and in particular a guy like Dan Wilson. So you tell your catcher, sit on the outer half of the plate, and if you hear them holler, one of the infields holler, here he comes, which means the squeeze is on, you want to know that you're in sync. You got one of two things to do with the pitcher and catcher. You either go up with something if it's hard, or you go off the outer half of the plate where Wilson can't reach it if it's something soft.
No action, but there's about to be the Yankee bullpen. Dan Wilson has walked and scored and grounded out. Chance to get Seattle the lead again. They are 11-1 this year when they score first, and they scored the first 5 tonight. The Yankees caught them through 5. Mariners try to strike back against Andy Pettit. Pettit none too pleased with a couple of calls this inning by Wally Bell. He thought he caught the outside corner on that one. Quick check. Bell not too far off first. Still almost caught him leaning. Action in the Yankee bullpen for the first time, and it's Brian Boehringer, the right-hander, who has come back to the Yankee organization this year. Two and 0.
He's going to be a little bit more nervous now. He wasn't so concerned about the at-bats with Cameron and Bell because the command for Andy Pettitte was there. Everything was down. That last fastball got away from him. He may be starting to fatigue.
Came in, had walked only 3 all year. He's walked 3 tonight. Now a 2-1 count on Wilson.
This fastball early in the game was in the lower 90s. Starting to drop into those upper 80s, which makes it a lot more desirable to hit.
How tough is that move to read? Bell is not very far off first at all. And yet both times he's gone over there, he started by leaning to his right.
It looks exactly like it does when he goes to home, up until the point where he puts the foot down. He either puts it down on the line towards first base, or he swings it on around to go to home. Look at that leg kick. Look at how high it is.
2-2.
That's what Torrey loves about Andy Pettitte. He's just such a competitor. Reaches back for a little bit more. All right, I can't command it in and out anymore. I'm just going to give you everything I got. Sometimes you go forward, sometimes you go backwards. He added a little bit that time.
Pettitte won 5 straight postseason games for Torrey. Pitched well in 2 others that were no decisions.
Well, he's just been outstanding here at Yankee Stadium as well. We mentioned the 19 wins last year. 9 of those came at home. Only 2 losses. He's 2-0 this year at Yankee Stadium with an ERA right at 1.
1 earned run allowed tonight. The 2-2. Called on the outside corner. Wilson begs to differ. That did look low, and it looked away.
Yeah, but Dave, you've got to adjust. And Dan Wilson has been behind home plate catching tonight, and he's seen pitches in this location being called. Is it a ball? Yeah. But is it a ball tonight with the home plate umpire strike zone? Well, that answer is no.
Yeah, I think that drives people crazy. Strike is a strike because of what the rule book says. The concept that umpires have my strike zone and is different than the rule book strike zone led to supposedly the big changes here in the offseason. It's 2 outs. And
you're exactly right, but that's not helping Dan Wilson.
No, it's not helping his case at all. It's Pettitte's first strikeout since he struck out the side in the first inning. Now it's up to Guillen on the big 2-run single in the 4th. Then deliver again for the Mariners. Andy Pettitte, though, has done it every year, 14 plus 5 straight. And 4 World Series championships and All-Star. Surprisingly, only once. You think he would have made it 4 times in just 96. I understand reputation. You got the reputation to be around the plate, but that was not that difficult a ball strike decision. So still down at third, Boone, who singled. Advance on the throwing error by Brocious. Bell walked. In between, a ground out by Cameron. Strikeout of Wilson. The 1-1 pitch definitely low and away. 2-1.
Jorge Posada there slamming on his glove, trying to fire up Andy Pettit with just enough energy to get one more out. Look at where he's sitting on the inner half of the plate. Look at the location.
That's right where strike 3 to Dan Wilson was.
Yeah, but Posada was sitting out there. He hit the target or somewhere within the vicinity, you might get the call. And that's why Posada's going out there, just trying to calm this workhorse down for the Yankees. Look, all we need is one more out of you. Joe Torre's not going to send him back out for the 7th. It's too early in the season to throw that many pitches for a guy that's that important to your club as Andy Pettit is.
The Bo Ringer continues to loosen. Pettit continues to struggle with Guillen. Behind him 2-1 with 2 on.
That will be a base hit, and it will score Brett Boone with a go-ahead run. Mariners back in front, 6-5. Third RBI tonight, and the 10th of the year for Guillen. And that Randy Johnson trade continues to pay dividends.
Remember the heat the Seattle Mariners took for that deal? When they traded the big unit, it was reported in Seattle that they got nothing in return. Well, they got an everyday shortstop right here in Carlos Guillen. They got a #1 pitcher in Freddie Garcia, and they got tonight's starting pitcher, John Halama, who's won 25 games the last 2 years.
The Astros, who got nothing now. Nothing since 98.
Suzuki loops one to right center, a base hit. David Bell will come around to score and make it 7-5 Seattle. On to third, Guillen. Second hit tonight by Ichiro.
I can't help but go back to the lack of defense on the part of the New York Yankees here in the month of April. A couple of errors for Brocious has led to these runs as well. Got runners in scoring position. Look at Ichiro. I mean, he can just handle the bat. This is the same breaking ball that fooled him in his first at bat when he struck out. Well, it didn't fool him his second time when he got a base hit to drive in a run, and he was all over that one.
He's leaning about 2 feet out of the box as he makes contact on that pitch.
And you know what? If they pound him in with that fastball, he won't lean. He'll stay back and turn on it.
Macklemore 0 for 3. So Ichiro 2 for 4, 2 RBIs, is 8th and 9th. 7-5 Seattle. Pettit unable to stand the good fortune of seeing his offense tie the game in the last half inning. Ichiro 3 for 5 stealing this year. But his first look at the move to first by Pettit.
He got caught a couple of times by Pudge Rodriguez. Joe Torre told him, hey, listen, that guy throws out a lot of people. Stay aggressive.
Shin high, 2-0 to Macklemore. Ichiro actually had been to New York City before this road trip back in 1995 vacationing, but Yankee Stadium was not part of their itinerary. It was his first time inside the house that Ruth built, playing the position that Babe Ruth played. It means so much to him out there in right field. 3-0. Call strike, 2-1. Just on the outside corner.
Macklemore is one of those guys that gives Lou Piniella so much flexibility with his bench. Switch hitter, infielder, outfielder, versatile, pinch hit, pitch run.
He's been left tonight, but one night it'll be Al Martin. Another night it'll be Charles Gibson or Anthony Sanders, or it might be Stan Javier, who's a popular pick by Piniella for late inning defense. Lots of maneuverability up and down this Mariner roster. 3-2.
A lot of pitches tonight for Andy Pettit.
Well, he's still paying for the second inning.
That last fastball, everything he had on it, and he only got it up to 86 miles an hour. A lot of pitches, particularly this early in the year.
2 errors leading to 4 runs in the second, costing him roughly about 30 pitches he otherwise would not have had to throw. Driving Suzuki back. If you're John Moses, you got to figure out exactly what English he can understand. The Mariners say that they can get across pretty simple concepts in English to Suzuki, but they need to bring in the interpreter for more complicated conversations. Popped up short right. Coming on is O'Neill, but the Mariners push back in front with 2 more runs, helped by another Yankee error, and it's 7-5. At Yankee Stadium, the Mariners regained the lead 7-5. They led at 1.5 to nothing. We moved to the bottom of the 6th, bottom third of the order for New York. Tino Martinez, Alfonso Soriano, and Scott Brosius. 0 for 2 night for Martinez. Now 3 for his last 31. And Norm Charlton out for his 2nd inning in relief. He came on after Halama began the 5th inning with back-to-back walks to Brosius and Knobloch. Charlton allowed a single by Jeter, struck out Paul O'Neill, retired Bernie Williams on a sacrifice fly, and then gave up the 2-run double to Posada. The Yankees tied it briefly 5-5. Ryan Franklin still up in the Mariner bullpen.
He was throwing right along with Charlton when Charlton took his warm-up pitches.
Hit pretty well right center field, but calling for it on the track is Cameron.
I mean, that's a gapper. Hit well into right center field, and yet both of those guys in the outfield could have got it.
That's going to be all for Charlton. Franklin will come on with 1 out in the bottom of the 6th. 7-5 Seattle. Seattle pitcher of the night is 28-year-old rookie right-hander Ryan Franklin, who has been another major cog for them. This is his 6th appearance, and look at the ERA. 15 1/3 innings, 1 earned run.
Got him a cup of coffee last year. 6 appearances, all out of the bullpen.
Start him against Soriano, and he looks for the strike. 0 for 2 for Alfonso tonight. Franklin was unimpressive in the spring. 6.87 ERA in 7 appearances, and he was slated to be the final cut and head for Japan. He just said he could not face another year at Tacoma, but funny how things intervened. Paul Abbott had the bad shoulder, went on the DL. Franklin stayed. That's under the glove of Bell, and Soriano's aboard for the first time. This Sunday Night Baseball with John Miller and Joe Morgan coming to you from the Bob. The Atlanta Braves take on Luis Gonzalez and the Arizona Diamondbacks at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Gonzalez tied for the National League record with 11 home runs in the month of April. Larry Walker of the Rockies also 11. Still get the Major League record set by Ken Griffey Jr., 87. With the Mariners 13 home runs in April for Jr. that big year. 97. Scott Brosius has a home run tonight, his 2nd of the year, and a walk. He scored twice. Goldringer continues to get loose. Soriano's shot ruled a base hit. Charlton went an inning and a 3rd, allowed a run on a hit, struck out 2. Hop straight up. Right in front of second base, Jeter, or Guillen makes the call. It's short for the 2nd out here in the 6th.
This is what makes Seattle such a strong ball club, that you can get a guy as quality as Arthur Rhodes up in the bottom of the 6th inning. Lou Piniella knows he's got Jeff Nelson down there, Jose Paniagua, and his closer, Sasaki. You know, the Yankees aren't in that position. They got 4 great starters. They got Mendoza, Stanton, and Rivera in the bullpen. But you know what? There's still 4 question marks they need to come up with.
You know, if there was a rematch in the ALCS, is it possible that the balance of power in the American League could have swung when Jeff Nelson decided to go back to Seattle and make their bullpen that much deeper, and the Yankees nowhere near as deep as they have been the last couple of years when he's been arguably as good a right-handed setup man as there's been in baseball.
Well, there's a statistic called the opponent's batting average. As far as the lowest opponent's batting average in baseball last year, Jeff Nelson was the best. Number 2, Sasaki. Number 3, Arthur Rhodes. And they all wear a Mariner uniform.
You see a trend developing there?
Yeah.
That's all before they get to Sasaki, whose 10 saves lead the majors. They can throw lefties Charlton and Rhodes, and then Franklin, who's literally come from nowhere. I think he's supposed to be on the relief staff. So the Abbott injury.
This might be a green light on here for Soriano at first base. 0-2 on your leadoff hitter. Don Zimmer was telling me before the game he loves the aggressiveness of Soriano. You give him one sign to get a jump, well, he's off and running.
And Franklin aware of that.
Awful close here, particularly when you got the tying run at home plate. Looks like he's trying to get a jump. I wouldn't be surprised if he got the red light here. Let's hold on for a while. They're on to it. They might possibly pitch out.
Soriano 4 for 6 stealing. They do pitch out, and he stays put. How about now?
I'd probably just leave him at home right now. He's got their attention. If they don't pitch out, Franklin knows he's got to be quick going to home plate. Wilson with a good release, one of the more accurate throwing catchers in baseball. They're not going to pitch out again. You got to get the hitter here.
Just missing 2-2.
Okay, I changed my mind. Now I send it. Knobloch's a good fastball hitter. If it's going to be a strike, Knobloch will put a swing on it. If it's an off-speed pitch, that's the type of pitch you want your runner to try to steal a base on.
Not going at 2-2, and it's driven right back up the middle. Second hit of the night by Knobloch, and Soriano scrambles around to third.
They're going to be real patient with Chuck Knobloch defensively in left field because of what he does for this club offensively. He made an out in his first at-bat tonight, but it took 7 pitches to retire him. That might have been the reason Halama ran out of gas. He got a base hit in the third. He walked and scored in the 5th. And you got it. He's back on base again with a hit here in the 6th.
Leadoff man supposed to get on. Knobloch's been on 3 of 4 appearances tonight. .366 on-base percentage coming in. Derek Jeter's hit it hard every time. Twice at the shortstop, 1 for double play. And he greeted Charlton with a single, came on to score last time in the 5th.
That's what Derek Jeter was talking about before tonight's game when he said, "Sut, I missed spring training." This is a hanging breaking ball. And look at where he hits it. Over towards the first base dugout. His timing is just not there yet.
First the shoulder, then the quad pull. 2 for his last 14. Other hanging breaking ball stays up.
Well, Soriano is just one of those guys that you notice during a ball game. Franklin paying too much attention to him. He had Knobloch 0-2. Wanted to finish him with something off-speed. Pitched out. Got afraid of Soriano stealing second, so he didn't throw an off-speed pitch. Gave Knobloch another fastball. He lines it for a hit. And then Soriano on a bullet to center field gets the third easily.
1-2, and again, he's a pitch away. Well, little things. Little things, what the Mariners are about this year. 16-4 record. By far their best start. They led the division by 6.5 coming in.
But they're 1 out away from their strength. They get the lead with 6 innings, and that's a great bullpen to hand it over to. They need another out.
And it's not any easy outs up and down this Yankee lineup. That's blown away. 2-2.
Got a guy at home plate right now that for the first time in history last year was the MVP of the All-Star game and the MVP of the World Series.
Got this city by Littlefinger, has for about 5 years.
And deserves it.
Again hit hard, but right at Boone at second. And no damage. The Yankees 6th. Franklin does the job. It stays 7-5.
ESPN's Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by Miller High Life and by State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Back at Yankee Stadium, Wednesday Night Baseball. Dave Barnett and Rick Sutcliffe and the Mariners tried to take the first 2 games of this 3-game series and win their 7th straight series this year. So they took the last 2 of last year as well. Andy Pettitte gone after 6 innings, and Brian Boehringer, who has come back to the Yankee organization, where he helped them win it all in 1996. Shoulder troubles his last 2 years. Made the team as a non-roster player with a minor league contract. His last outing Thursday at Toronto, 4 2/3 scoreless innings of relief.
Always been about throwing strikes for Brian Boehringer. Terrific ERA, 1.35, 13 innings, 13 strikeouts this year, but 7 base on balls.
First 3 pitches to Edgar Martinez all miss, and finally comes through with a strike. That will stay fair. Tough chance. Brocious can't pick it cleanly. And let's check in with Bill Pito.
Dave, thank you. As we have Toronto and Texas, ball game is tied, 2 out. Brad Fulmer here is at the plate. A-Rod deep into the hole, and he's got to get it there in time. Does not. Go-ahead run scored. Toronto has since added 2 more. Meantime, Derek Lowe struggling. They bring in Rod Beck for Boston. Can't get it done. With Minnesota down 1, A.J. Przinsky off the monster. Drives in the tying run. 3-3 now. Top 9.
Well, every game that goes by, you wonder just how much of a mirage the Minnesota Twins are. Maybe not at all.
You know, I also wonder how the Boston Red Sox are doing it. Coming into tonight's game, leading the American League East. And that's without that shortstop. I mean, without Garcia Parra, they weren't supposed to be that good. With Jimmy Williams and Joe Kerrigan, what a job they do.
0-2 to Olerud. Of the 3 young superstar shortstops in the American League, you got Jeter, injured, subpar by his own admission this year. Garcia Parra, yet to play for Boston, injured. And then A-Rod changing teams last year. And having his troubles defensively. Offensively about as well as you'd expect, but he made some errors in that series at Seattle last week he would never have made without, I think, the cascades of boos unnerving him as they would anybody for periods of that 3-game series.
Most good infielders that I've talked to, Dave, over the years, talk about defense being a state of concentration. You know, when a pitcher's not throwing strikes from time to time, your mind will wander a little bit. And you know there's a lot of things going through A-Rod's mind that normally aren't there. Back in Seattle, looking around, people that cheered you throughout your career, all of a sudden not with you anymore.
Talking about a guy who has never done anything in his career to do anything to get booed other than put his name on a contract that any human being on the planet would have signed, including all those people booing him in Seattle?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, baseball, a contract in baseball is not like a marriage contract. I mean, it doesn't say till death do us part. Every contract he signed with Seattle, he played hard, he played well for him. And I mean, that's the rules. He had the opportunity to become a free agent. He did.
Life goes on very well for the Mariners. The best record in baseball. 3-2. Olerud going to keep the 7th inning going with a threatening look against Bowringer. Martinez started with infield hit. Going on the hit and run, it is chopped to Soriano for the first out. Well, the Lotriman key plays of the game tonight have been defensive miscues by the Yankees. Throwing error by Brocious. O'Neill unable to come up with that one cleanly. This would be another throwing error by Brocious at third all the way into the stands. And he hits as Ichiro led Seattle back after they had blown the 5-0 lead. Roller by Boone to Jeter. Martinez staying put. Defense has been so steady over the last 5 years for New York, and anything but lately. 10 errors last 5 games.
You know, just in tonight's game, 4 unearned runs in the total postseason last year. In all of the games combined, the Yankees only allowed 2 unearned runs. So this Yankee ball club's struggling once again in the month of April.
Well, with the exception of the postseason last year, when you look at their September, it's really 2 consecutive months of struggling. Last year ended with 13 losses in the last 15 games. Nobody remembered that while they were going 11-5 through the postseason, winning their 4th series in the last 5 years. But not the start they hoped to get off. 2001, the throw by Posada just to chase the runner back to second base, Edgar Martinez.
And they don't even care if that works or not. They just want to fatigue out the Mariners' designated hitter. Edgar's had some leg problems throughout his career. If they can possibly tweak a hamstring or something tonight, then he doesn't play tomorrow.
Cameron hits it in the air to center. Bernie Williams. Martinez leadoff single wasted as Bowringer has relieved Pettit in a 7-5 game. Look down to Yankee Stadium from the Monster.com blimp. 165 feet long, 55 feet tall, and when empty weighs over 5,000 pounds. Monster.com reminds you to think big when it comes to your career and your life. We're at the stretch in the Bronx. 7-5 Seattle, and their 4th pitcher of the night, left-handed veteran Arthur Rhodes, is on. Ryan Franklin went 2/3 of an inning. Gave up 2 hits, and now for the 10th time this year, Rhodes, who has been very effective, comes out of the bullpen for Lou Piniella.
Rhodes can just flat be overpowering. A 95-mile-an-hour fastball, curved slider change. Equally effective against right-handed or left-handed hitters. And one of those 6 free agents that the Mariners brought in last year, General Manager Pat Gillick, just perfect in the free agent market. Rhodes, Aaron Seeley, Sasaki, Olerud, Javier, and McLemore, all brought in last year and all a big, big part of the Mariners getting to the postseason.
Paul O'Neill is 1 for 3. Arthur Rhodes, in his career, holds left-handed hitters to a .214 average and first batters faced to a .214 average. So if you're Piniella, you like the percentages when you bring him in to start off against O'Neill. Bernie Williams in the on-deck circle, 125, batting right-handed beginning this game.
You just have to admire, too, the way these two managers give their players an opportunity to succeed. And you bring in Arthur Rhodes to face a left-handed hitter. That's how those first batter statistics are so good.
They appeal down to third, and the umpire, Ron Culpa, says he didn't go. 2-1.
They're not always going to succeed. I mean, there's a human element involved in the game of baseball. But you put them in the right situation. You put pinch hitters up in situations where they've got good numbers against the opposition.
Rhodes has held O'Neill to 5 of 19. 1 home run in their career matchups. 2-2. So you got Rhodes for the 7th. You got Jeff Nelson, who will be primed to go against his former team for the 8th. And then you can bring in a Major League saves leader, Sasaki, for the 9th. I wanted more out of Halama, but ever since then, he's brought the bullpen in, and they've pretty much done the job for him.
Look at big Jeff Nelson. You got to figure we're going to see him at some point tonight.
Ball strike 3 on O'Neill. He strikes out for the 2nd straight time. And not surprisingly, he disagrees with Wally Bell.
I think probably the thing that frustrates him most is, you would think the catcher could catch a ball if it was called a strike. The ball bounced out of Wilson's glove. Dan turning back right there as if to apologize to Wally Bell for bringing that all upon him. Take a look at the pitch. Good fastball. There's not a whole lot to complain about there other than Wilson not hanging on to it.
O'Neill, the first out in the 7th. Bernie Williams, as O'Neill continues to steam. Williams has an RBI and a sacrifice fly to right. His last time up. Time before that, Singleton scored the 2nd Yankee run. Seattle, top to bottom, no question. They are not the dangerous offensive team they used to be. But they don't play in the Kingdome anymore. They play in maybe the premier pitchers park in the American League. And Pat Gillick, with those moves you're talking about, has tailored his team to his park over the last couple of years. Hard hit shot backhanded by Guillen with a long throw in plenty of time to get Williams.
How about that arm? Huh?
Almost A-Rod like.
I got to watch the Mariners a lot this spring, and I was asking Alan Trammell, former all-star shortstop for the Detroit Tigers, about the movements of Carlos Guillen. And he said, you know what, he's got great actions for a shortstop. He said he's a little bit bigger now. His legs are bigger than they were when he played shortstop as his primary position. Tried to get bigger and stronger when they moved him to third, expected more power, but just great actions as we saw there, and what an arm.
Now Posada, who has yet to be retired by Mariner pitching. 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, and is 2 for 4 lifetime against Arthur Rhodes. Hard hit shot, but foul. 1-1.
Take a look at the night of Jorge Posada back in the 2nd inning with a base hit. A off-speed pitch away. He'll get him another bat the next time up. You want to stay away? I'll go the other way. Now they decided to come in, and he's looking for it. That double came in the bottom of the 5th inning. A couple of outs, and a couple of RBIs for Posada.
Briefly tied the game at 5-all after they had trailed 5-0 through 2.5 innings. Shot to left coming in to make the catch is McLemore, and they finally retire Posada. First time the Yankees go down in order, and it's the 3, 4, and 5 hitters. Baseball tonight in its 12th season is the most comprehensive show on Major League Baseball, followed by SportsCenter with Rich Eisen and Reese Davis. Yankee Stadium, game 2 of a 3-game series. Seattle won last night 7-5 and up tonight 7-5.
as David Bell sends the first pitch of the 8th inning deep to left, back, Knobloch in front of the 399 sign. Bell continues to hit it hard with nothing to show for it. Knobloch seeming to sweat out every shot his way.
After making 3 errors last year playing second base here at Yankee Stadium, Buck Knobloch went in and told manager Joe Torre, he says, "You got to get me out of here." Reading that article in ESPN, the magazine, he said, "I'm done hurting the team with my mistakes." I mean, you got a feel for him. I mean, all those years being able to be a Gold Glove second baseman, all of a sudden I can't make that throw anymore. Torre told him to go home, but he said, "Make me one promise." Knobloch said, "What's that?" And he said, "Promise me you'll come back tomorrow." And he told him he would. He did. And Torre has, I mean, he tried everything to get him comfortable at second base. That didn't happen. They came up with the idea to move him in the outfield. So far, it's worked.
That's still there for Torre, the leadoff. Very effectively keep the Yankees' big innings going. Wilson strikes out for the second straight time.
You know, Torre's been under a little bit of criticism for letting Bernie Williams leave the club for a couple of weeks. That's a lot of money to pay a guy that's, you know, not playing a performance. It's going to be a tight division all year long, but there's so much compassion in that man. I just think about what he did last year with all the distractions Joe Torre had. Bill Strawberry, you know, the physical problem with pitching coach Mel Stottlemyre, David Cohn not being successful, Knobloch, the rumors about Sosa and Juan Gonzalez.
Guillen has been the tough out for Yankee pitching tonight. That one gets through Bernie Williams all the way to the wall and headed for third without a throw. Carlos Guillen with his 3rd hit of the night. 3 RBIs as well for the replacement to A-Rod at shortstop for Seattle.
Good low ball hitter. Got one down in the zone. Smoked it. Bernie Williams not able to get to it. Look at that ball down. That's right where he wants it. He's taking a peek at it. Now realize it got past Bernie. I don't know why he's looking back. The ball's in front of you. Take one peek. You know you can get there.
First triple of the year for Guillen.
And that gives Ichiro a chance to hit and extend the Seattle lead. Posada driving Guillen back to third. Struck out in the first. Since then, pair of RBI singles for Suzuki.
Look at that defense. Look at Brocious in at third.
In the air, right field, O'Neill. So a 2-out triple by Guillen. All the Mariners manage in the 8th. They still lead by 2. For the last 6 outs, trailing for the second straight night to Seattle 7-5. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. And to get the most complete coverage of Major League Baseball on the internet, log on to MLB.com. 23,684 in Yankee Stadium tonight. Watching the Yankees play from behind almost all night. And Arthur Rhodes out for his 2nd inning in relief. Michael Coleman, the DH, leads it off. Rhodes in the 7th became the first Mariner pitcher tonight to retire the Yankees in order. He got O'Neill on strikes, Williams on a ground out, Posada on a fly to left. So now they're down to their top 2 in the bullpen, Nelson and Sasaki.
Pinella always a step ahead. Got Nelson up and throwing. In all probability, Nelson not going to come in unless the 4th hitter in the inning, Scott Brocious, comes up to home plate. And if he does come up with a man on, Nelson's got plenty of time to be ready to come in and make some quality pitches.
One and 2 to Coleman.
Brocious block, both right-handed hitters. Right-handed hitters normally don't even have a chance against the slider of Jeff Nelson. Brocious sees him down there in the pen.
Knobloch been on 3 straight appearances. Still plenty of landmines in the Yankee order, no matter who's out there.
You wonder why Piniella wouldn't bring in Nelson now to face Michael Coleman. Well, there's a guy named Dave Justice over there on that Yankee bench. Would probably be up hitting now.
1-2 swung on and missed. Second straight strikeout by Coleman, and the second strikeout by Rhodes. Don't forget the Stanley Cup playoffs on ESPN2 move into the conference semifinal round. Game 1 of the East, 7 o'clock tomorrow, matching Toronto and New Jersey, the defending champions. And in the West at 10 o'clock, 7 Pacific, the LA Kings at the Colorado Avalanche. Kings advancing with their shocking upset of Detroit. Tino Martinez 0 for 3. 2 flies to center and bounced to first.
He's had some success against Arthur Rhodes, hitting 300, got a home run in 23 at-bats. He was a good fastball hitter. I don't care if it comes from a right-hander or a left-hander. Rhodes knows that. Got ahead with the breaking ball.
Outside corner, ahead now 0-2. Also hockey here on ESPN. 7:30 Eastern tomorrow. Another conference semi, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. Lemieux and Yager against Hasek.
Those games are getting good, aren't they? Stanley Cup.
One of the better first rounds I can remember a long time. The Stanley Cup. 1-2. Guy had a night off tonight. Dave Justice, but Don Zimmer's also at the ready. Step in at a pinch.
Zim's still thinking about that hole-in-one he had this spring. He said he was honored to begin with. I mean, he was in a foursome with Goose Gossage and Ron Guidry. Knocked it in, set a 9-iron from about 135.
That was captured immediately after the hole-in-one. His first reaction.
Well, he told a funny story. He said about 2 holes later, Mel Stottlemyre was also in that group. Right after he got the hole-in-one, he gets up on the next tee and he hits a nice, beautiful drive right in the middle of a big old lake. About 2 holes later, Mel Stottlemyre said, "Hey, I know this guy that can frame that ball for you, you know, and make a nice plaque, and everything will be good." And Zim said, "Well, I'm going to have a rowboat to get it." Because that was the same ball Zim hit in the lake on the next hole.
On the corner, crawl strike 3. 5 batters faced. Rhodes has struck out 3.
Been a strike all night. Martinez not happy about it, but that's the zone, and the hitter has to adjust to it. Lou Piniella knows that Arthur Rhodes done a terrific job tonight. Going to get him out now so that he'll be able to do it again tomorrow if needed.
Former Yankee Jeff Nelson ready to come in and try and help finish off the Yankees tonight. The 5th Mariner pitcher of the night. He has been scored on in only 1 of his 10 appearances. Last time out Saturday against the Angels, got 1 out for his 2nd save. In his 2nd stint with the Mariners, last year 8-4 career high wins for the Yankees, as arguably the best setup man in the major leagues. But he signed as a free agent for 3 years with Seattle, where he played in '95 until he went to New York, originally with Tino Martinez, the trade for Russ Davis and Sterling Hitchcock. So he's got a stake in some of those 26 world championships without any question.
Velocity is back in his fastball, and watch the arm angle he creates with that slider.
Soriano 1 for 3. That's with 2 outs, nobody on, down 2 in the 8th. First pitch for Nelson, low. In 4 World Series, 13 appearances, Nelson's career series ERA 2.25. Gets it done when they have to have it done.
That's not really been the whole story. It's what he's done in the postseason. So impressive.
Oriano pops it foul ground to Olerud. Only took 3 pitches for Nelson to complete the 8th and keep it 7-5 Seattle.
You know,
Suzuki made the last out in the 8th inning. 2 for 5 tonight. 2 RBI singles.
This is what happened in his first at bat. Not able to hold up on the breaking ball. But his second at bat, he makes contact. Watch him wait on it now in that third at bat. I know what's coming. You thought you fooled me once, you could get me again. Well, you're the one that got fooled. They say that not only every time you got to remember, he's never seen any of these pitchers before. Not only does he adjust from game to game seeing pitchers, he does it from at bat to at bat.
Foul back by McLemore, who is 0 for 4. So the normal pattern for a new talent like that is you're going to see a lot of fastballs. Pitchers will test exactly how tough he is to blow one fast, and then they go to breaking balls. But the guy that can adjust like that on breaking balls, how do you now approach Suzuki with the kind of bat control he's displayed?
Well, they think because of all the movement in his swing, they can pound him in. But you pound him in too often, he'll set back, look for it, eliminate that big high leg kick, and turn on it. That's where the 2 home runs have come.
Bottom line, I guess, is there is no easy way to get him out, or else he wouldn't be a 7-time batting champion in Japan. Figure they've tried about everything there is there. Todd Williams and Randy Choate loosening in the Yankee bullpen. Andy Pettit went 6 innings, 7 runs, only 3 earned. Bill Ringer since the 7th. Bernie Williams handles this one. Ringer has allowed just 2 hits. And Kazuhiro Sasaki ready to come on with his 11th save in the 9th.
Nelson and Arthur Rhodes did their jobs. Nelson only took 3 pitches to come in and get the 24th out of the game. I've seen a lot of guys over the years that can get that 22nd, 23rd, and 24th out. It's a little different story. Those last 3. Seattle has been able to solve that problem with Mr. Sasaki.
Good night for Edgar Martinez. Doubled and scored the 5th Seattle run of the 3rd. Walk in the 5th. Greeted Bo Ringer with a leadoff single in the 7th. Behind him here, 0-2. Seattle has played already 12 games this year, decided by 2 runs or less, and they've won 9 of those 12. 6 one-run games, they've won 4 of those 6. When they lead after 8, Rick, they are 15-1. They know how to slam the door this year.
You know, you don't have to think back too far to when Lou Piniella didn't know how to slam that door, and he tried everybody.
It was pretty much, if you hadn't gotten a shot as the Seattle closer, wait another week and it would come around to you. There are no such issues anymore. Rookie of the year last year, and Sasaki started this year on an even higher level. Ball strike 3. And let's check in with Bill Pito.
All right, Dave, the Boston bullpen continues to self-destruct. Rolando Araujo, bases loaded. Torrey Hunter scoring 1, scoring 2, scoring all 3. 3-3 ties, now a 6-3 Twins edge. Boston's last chance.
Toronto has won tonight, so they have a chance to pull even with Boston. If New York does not come from behind, they can stay 3 back of the Red Sox in the American League East. John Olerud, who started tonight hitting .371, is 0 for 4.
About Minnesota. I mean, 8-1 at home. All right, those young guys will be okay there. Now they go on the road. This could be their 7th win on the road tonight.
Short left. Out is Jeter. In is Knobloch, and it falls between them.
And Olerud will finally get a base hit. 2 out, bloop in the 9th.
Well, he deserves a base hit because of the fact that he has moved runners along when he needs to. There's Knobloch right here, and he really does a good job here. You can see him off and running. You know he's got terrific speed. But rather than trying to dive for that ball and maybe come up with a spectacular play, you got 2 outs. You got a slow runner. Stays back, he fields it on 1 hop, and he keeps Olerud at first base.
Red Boone, 2 singles, has been involved with the 2 throwing errors by Brocious and has scored 2 runs. And a sac fly in the 3rd. Seattle pitching the ALCS held the Yankees scoreless. You remember back the first 16 innings until a 7-run 8 won game 2, 7-1 for the Yankees.
Deep to right.
Boone sending O'Neill back in front of the track for the 3rd out.
In the ALCS, the bullpen had trouble protecting leads against the Yankees. They have a 2-run lead to protect. As we head to the bottom of the 9th, Brocious, Knobloch, and Jeter will hit for New York. Sasaki is on to try and finish it off for Seattle. They lead 7-5 for the 2nd straight night. Baseball tonight follows. They'll have highlights of Radke and Pedro in Boston. CC Sabathia, the Indians Phenom, getting the start tonight for them. And Luis Gonzalez and Larry Walker going for the April home run lead. Baseball tonight, and then Rich Eisen and Reese Davis have Sports Center. Last night, Sasaki worked a 1-2-3 night for his 10th save, saving a 7-5 Seattle win. He's on again tonight to face Brocious, Knobloch, and Jeter, who together are combined 0 for 4 lifetime against last year's AL Rookie of the Year.
Well, you know, you look at the numbers of those 3 guys against Jeff Nelson, who was in the ball game for the bottom of the 8th. He dominates those hitters as well. But when you've got something that works, you don't mess with it. And this is the guy that got them to the postseason last year. He's the guy that will always be given the ball in these post situations for Lou Piniella.
Fans from the Far East have enjoyed this one. Suzuki and now Sasaki a chance to play key roles in the Mariner bullpen behind John Halama, who was not in long enough to get the win. Had to pull him after back-to-back walks, leading off the 5th inning. Charlton in for an inning and a 3rd, a run and a hit. Franklin 2/3 scoreless. Rhodes 1 2/3, struck out 3, and Nelson for 1/3.
That's a bad night for the Mariners pen. Giving up a run.
By this year's standards, it is.
Sasaki with 229 career saves while in Japan. At one time, just a dominant strikeout power type pitcher. After surgery, though, he didn't come back throwing as hard as he once did, but he still had command of that fastball and just an unhittable split finger pitch.
Started a little slow last year. Once he got his control under control, he was on his way to 37 saves, 3rd in the American League, and at age 32 became the Rookie of the Year. A lot of people had a problem with that. It's a 32-year-old with that much experience. Even if it wasn't in the American major leagues, he was arguably the best reliever in the Japanese league history. Is he really a rookie? And the voters decided, yeah.
Well, I don't believe in that. I mean, a Rookie of the Year should go to a kid that's, you know, 22, 23 years of age and has not had a lot of experience playing professional ball. Now, is he an all-star? Yeah. I mean, is he a Cy Young Award candidate? Definitely, yes. But I just think that the Rookie of the Year goes to somebody like Soriano or someone with a lot less experience in these pressure situations.
1-1 to Brocious, who hit his second home run in the third. Now 1-2. The Yankees in danger of falling to 11-10. And the Mariners can improve to 17-4.
Really such an adjustment for a youngster in his first year in the big leagues on the field, to relax and feel like you're a part of it. I think Sasaki feels more a part of things here in the United States on the field than he does off.
Foul tip. Brocious strikes out. We check in with Bill Pito.
All right, Dave, thank you. Baseball tonight when you guys are finished. And over on ESPN2, it's the Reds and the Giants. Barry Bonds here in the first inning. Not a home run, but a fair ball inside the line. It's going to be a double, and it scores 2 for the Giants, who lost last night to Cincy, have the early 2-zip top 2.
And Bonds still at 503 and counting. Chuck Knobloch has reached the last 3 times, twice on singles, once on a walk. He scored in the 5th. Trying to get aboard for Jeter. And O'Neill behind him. Here the Yankee ninth. Well, once Sasaki got it going last year, he almost never failed in a save situation. He led the AL in save percentage, 92.5% on 37 of 40. And he's been spotless to begin the 2001 season.
Well, his problem early in the year was that he allowed 10 home runs. Allowed 15 of the 25 runs that he allowed all year to score. But in his last 17 outings, they did not hit 1 home run off of it.
Had a club record by 4 in the save category, with Jeter standing by. On deck, the 1-1. Head to the upper deck. Started with a battle of good left-handers, Halama and Pettit. Pettit victimized with 4 unearned runs. Not much defense behind him. There was 121 pitches just to get through 6 innings.
Well, the 2 earned runs he gave up in the 6th inning, a lot to do with the errors that were committed in the 2nd that allowed the 4 unearned runs to score. Don't forget, last Friday in Pettit's last start, he threw a complete game, which was needed by this ball club. And I just don't think the stamina was there tonight. Not all Pettit's fault, though.
Almost the same spot in the upper deck.
Even the saves that used to be converted for Lou Piniella, it seemed like there was always a go-ahead run on base, and there were walks. I mean, Sasaki, you just, I mean, you know, that gray hair didn't used to be on Lou Piniella's head. That color might start coming back now that he's got Sasaki.
He earned it. He earned every gray hair. Knobloch continues to battle. Last year the issue was, would his defensive struggles affect him at the plate, and this year he had a good start at the plate while learning a brand new position. You would think if one would hurt him offensively, the other situation would. It hasn't been the case this year. Can he stay alive at 1-2? Just inside.
Knobloch with such good knowledge of the strike zone. Knows the movement of Sasaki's fastball. If it starts on the inner half, the movement will take it out of the zone. Able to lay off that difficult pitch.
Yankees haven't had a base runner since his single in the 6th. 8 in a row set down by Franklin, Rhodes, Nelson, and now Sasaki. Headed toward left center, and McLemore can't get there in time. Off the 399 sign for a double with 1 out for Chuck Knobloch. 3rd hit of the night.
They found their left fielder. It's their former second baseman, number 11, Chuck Knobloch. What an at-bat right there off of Sasaki. All 5 of his at-bats tonight, totally quality. Tried to get the fastball in again, left it out over the plate. Knobloch all over it. You know, last year, the Yankees had question marks in left field. They had 11 guys that played that position for them. Ricky Leday, one of them. Spencer, Lance Johnson came in. Felix Jose, Roberto Kelly. Well, those questions are answered now in Chuck Knobloch.
Tying run at the plate, Derek Jeter. 1 for 4, a single and a run scored off Charlton back in the 5th. Even Ailing. Derek Jeter, a handful for Sasaki. It will not be the 1-2-3 uneventful night that he had last night in getting his 10th save. 2-0.
The crowd, always such a factor here at Yankee Stadium. 23,000 people here have the ability to sound like 53,000. Players hear it. Umpires hear it.
Well, you know, Sasaki hears it. Behind 2-0. That one finds the corner. Paul O'Neill, a single in 4 trips. Knobloch with the 1-out double. Now the hands of Jeter. Missing the inside corner, 3-1. Pinella's used to it, but not this year. Sasaki saves have not gone like this.
He just has that look, though, like he still knows what he's doing. Fastball away.
Outside corner.
He has so much confidence in his ability to locate that fastball. He knows the zone. He's been paying attention all night. A couple of inches off the outer half. It's been a strike. Hopefully it will continue to be as it was.
Sasaki's only blown save this year. April 13th at Anaheim, he gave up a 2-run home run to Garrett Anderson. That snapped a streak of 17 consecutive successful save opportunities going back to July 31st of last year.
Anderson was a good low ball hitter, as is the guy on the on-deck circle. I really think Sasaki wants to challenge Jeter here.
3-2. miles an hour on that one.
His velocity has been better during the month of April. It had something to do with him pitching on back-to-back nights, saving the ball game last night.
Henry's going to reach the mid-90s. That can come with the forkball, looking just like the fastball. Another 3-2 to Jeter. He's again foul back to the upper deck this time.
Well, this is the guy who's got to get out. Jeter is just physically not at 100%. If he were, the situation would be different. Got a man with a career high in homers for the month of April. You don't want to put Jeter on and let O'Neill come up as the go-ahead run.
That situation, they still see David Justice, who has a bat in his hand. Piniella making sure he's got all the defense where he wants it. As Sasaki again comes 3-2 to Jeter. Same spot.
Well, even
but not close or 100% how tough an out is Derek Jeter, especially in a game-deciding situation.
That's not normally a pitch he chases, though. That was ball 4 up and out of the zone. Derek Jeter missed a lot of spring training, missed the first week of the season. He's still trying to get his timing back and his knowledge of the strike zone.
He's not homered yet. 10 RBIs, hitting .303. This 3-2 is chopped to short. Ian over for the second out, keeping Knobloch at second base. And in the hands now of Paul O'Neill.
100 RBIs the last 4 consecutive years for Paul O'Neill. How about that? Oh, my goodness. Just a pop-up to right field. Well, if you do that at Yankee Stadium, sometimes the reward as he was with that homer. Always a lot of emotion out of the Yankees right fielder. Really one of the captains of that ball club. Sets an example in a quiet way with what he does on the field.
8 homers, most in any month of any season for O'Neill. Most by a Yankee in April since Greg Nettles in '74 had 11. Tino Martinez had 9 in '97. He has homered in the last 3 games. He has never homered in 4 straight games. He began tonight with a single in the first. Ground out and 2 strikeouts since then.
The 5th reliever of the night, Sasaki for the Mariners. Nobody up in the pen. There's still a couple of people down there available.
Quickly ahead of O'Neill, 0-2, a pitch away.
And I still think back to a couple of years ago when, you know, Piniella could have used 3 or 4 mounds in that bullpen in the 9th inning because he had people going right and left. He knows this is his guy. He's still pacing, but look at him, smiling from time to time. Dan Wilson looking in as if not only Piniella, but maybe the pitching coach Brian Price helping call pitches here. They know O'Neill a lot better than Sasaki does.
His 0-2 just off the outside corner.
This was awful close to the one that O'Neill took for strike 3. It's off the plate, but we've seen a big outer half. Sasaki wanted it. He's going to have to do it again.
Yankees have made him work here tonight. This is his 24th pitch. Struck out Brocious. Knobloch doubled. Jeter on the ground out. Now the 1-2 to O'Neill. Way outside. Not the quick, tidy effort he got from Kazoo last night. 1 strike away from making it good enough. Knobloch still down at second with 2 outs. Is 2-2 to center field for Cameron. And the Mariners win their 6th in a row, their 10th in the last 11 games, and they are 17-4 in 2001. Sasaki gets his 11th save, and for the 2nd straight night, they win 7-5 at Yankee Stadium. Charlton to win and relief Pettit, now 3-2. Big night for fans of Suzuki and the Mariners. And from Yankee Stadium, baseball tonight coming up next. For Rick Sutcliffe, Dave Barnett, so long now, baseball tonight.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.